Hello and welcome back to the Arc of E podcast. My name is Noah.
And my name is Gavin.
And we're the Blanchard Brothers. And this is your 2x2 retro reviews for the month of June.
Yes.
To remind everybody, we're going to be discussing, and we're going to do mine first because the other one's, the other one's an actual classic.
Yes.
That we've yet to, I don't think we've ever really discussed at all.
No, I don't
on this
think
podcast,
so. No.
Other than the random stray reference, I'm sure. But, yeah, we're going to do mine first, which is the 1996, I hesitate to even say gem or...
Thriller or whatever.
Whatever there are gems in it.
Yes.
But yes, the Miami set thriller, light thriller from Mr. Bob Rafelson, great director in his Twilight career-wise.
It's funny that you say Twilight.
We'll get to it. It's called Blood and Wine.
Yeah.
By the way. Yeah. So that's one movie that we'll be discussing. The other one, kind of surprised it took us this long to get to it. And this is a little behind the scenes action, but I basically had to tell you to make it your pick.
Right. Because I really didn't have a good one.
Yeah, but we wanted to do a double dose of Florida goodness, but there's a lot to choose from.
Yes.
So I went with a little more off the beaten path, if you will.
Yeah.
And you went with a straight up 80s classic.
Yes.
Scarface from 1983.
The world is yours, Noah.
It is.
And
it's
everything in it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So we're going to save that for part two, so you can obviously fast forward if you want to. Check the timestamps in the episode. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can conveniently just go in the episode description and click on the timestamp. It takes you right there in the episode.
Oh,
it's
perfect.
Great. It's great. I don't know why every service doesn't do that. But regardless, you can manually fast forward if you want to. Yeah. But we'll talk about Blood and Wine. I'm interested to see what Gavin thought of it. This was a rewatch for me after many years, probably about 15 or so, maybe more like 16. But yeah, we'll get into it. But before we do, it's been a bit since we recorded. Our last episode was 2 hours and 45 minutes long. But is there anything in the interim that you do want to touch on, or do you want to dive straight into the 2x2?
Well, I did mention...
You want to do what we came to do. I am
am
going to continue to rhyme.
We can push it to the limit a little bit. It's funny that you said Twilight, because I watched Twilight.
Starring Paul Newman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's this weird thing I've seen where it feels like in the 90s, a bunch of old school guys were trying, maybe they thought the world was going to end in 99 and they were trying to get one more in, but Reese Witherspoon is in it, Liev Schreiber's in it, James Garner's in it, Hackman's in it, Susan Sarandon. It was wild.
Never sat and watched it, but I have flipped past it on cable because it's one of those where it's you see in the description, you're like, fucking Twilight is on again?
Right.
They're showing the vampires again?
Yeah.
But, yeah, and
but it's not that Twilight.
But it's often the Paul Newman movie.
Right.
I feel like they showed this on USA, a lot, and then it was on Stars for a stretch.
Right.
But yeah, I've never actually sat and watched it.
I would honestly recommend it. I wouldn't make you do it as a 2x because what I was getting at, it fits in this weird thing of I'm thinking of there's a few Clint Eastwoods at the end, mainly True Crime is the one I'm thinking of, or maybe it's Blood Work. Maybe that's after 2000. But you got this one, what we're talking about
is early 2000s.
Right. Well, you got Blood and Wine that we're talking about here. You got Twilight. You have, I think Henry Fonda had one called Yuli's Gold. It does take place in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't think it's a true crime or a thriller. If I'm not, I've never seen it. I remember the cover on video cassette shelves back in the day. But it's just weird little niche of big name guys from, the era. They're kind of in their twilight, pun intended, and they're giving it one more go. And because
we'll talk about where Nicholson's at when we get.
I don't believe he's anywhere near it in this movie.
Anyways,
or anything that comes. Because there's still plenty to do after this with him. But it was just interesting that you said that because I did rewatch that one and I did enjoy it for what it was.
Okay.
Especially Hackman being Hackman. And I just have I have a couple of new ones, brand new ones to me. and give you some stuff I caught up on TV wise, but for the most part, it was these two, and that's about it.
Okay.
So, you may do TV or movies first?
Whatever you want to chat about, bud.
Okay, so I watched for the first time Nancy with our girl Andrea Riseborough.
Not familiar.
She basically her mother passes away, and she starts to talk to this couple. One of the husband is Steve Buscemi. They lost their daughter when she disappeared in the 80s, and Andrew Riseborough is like, oh, hey, I think I could be your daughter. But she's like a fucking pathological liar, and it's just really fucking... Okay. It's really good. You should check it out.
Say the name again?
Nancy.
Okay. Where'd you watch that?
I believe it was on Hulu, or I think it might be on Prime through Showtime. One of the two. I forget to jot those down. I watched another new one to me, American Honey.
Still have not watched it. We'll discuss at some point.
I don't know what to make of it. It's really weird because every time I felt like I'm just watching something somebody went out and like captured, true to life kind of thing, I realized, well, there's actors in this, and like, you know, this has to have some sort of structure and story. But it did feel like a weird, just kind of like, you know, I don't want to say slice of life with stuff, because that kind of gives it the sheen of like it's maybe trying to be real life. But in this case, it felt like I was just kind of there with this character as she kind of moved through the world and what her world became, that sort of thing. But I would recommend it.
I can't tell you why I haven't seen it, because I heard great things at the time, and I have specifically sought out Andrea Arnold's previous movies. I saw Fish Tank like when it came out,
mm-hmm.
and then Wuthering Heights is in between,
mm-hmm.
which I liked and enjoyed a surprising amount for. Like, normally I don't go for literary adaptations of books that I didn't bother reading when I was in high school.
Except for Crime and Punishment in Suburbia. You go for that all the time.
I mean, I'm always down for a modern reinterpretation.
Right.
But it was a very interesting attempt at period. Anyways, and yeah, I was like totally amped to see this and then never got to it. And then it's one of those, whenever it does crop up in my brain, it's that runtime, dude. Isn't it almost 3 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the only reason I haven't.
I would argue though, dude. Like,
I mean, we're about to talk about a 2 hour and 50-minute movie.
Dude, don't even get me started,
bit,
dude. I have to tell you, remind me to talk to you about the runtime of Scarface, because I watched it with Bex.
Okay.
She had never seen it all the way through, and I was like, you want to like stop now? We can go get food, because we still got an hour and a half left in this thing. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, I told you to, like, when I started on Netflix, I was like, all right, buckle up. That was it. An hour and a half later, it's like, yeah, we still got like an hour 30 with this thing. So you want to take a break, and I'll go get us some food, and we come back and finish this bad boy. But yeah, I would definitely recommend American Honey. Another new one to me, but it's older, Mulholland Falls.
So hoping you were going to say Mulholland Drive. But go ahead.
Mulholland Falls, never seen it.
Nope.
Nick Nolte,
Mm-hmm.
Chris Penn,
Mm-hmm.
Chaz Palminteri,
Mm-hmm.
and there's another big name in there as well. I can't think of them. They're basically, it's post-war LA. It's like, maybe it wanted to be LA Confidential before LA Confidential came out, but it's they're 4 detectives. And they operate like the opening scene of the movie. They're throwing a mobster down a hill. The mobster, William Peterson, and they're basically like, we don't have crime here in LA. We don't have organized crime. We're going to clean this up. And then all of a sudden, a body gets found out in the middle of the desert, around the area. It's technically desert at this time, and it's none other than Miss Jennifer Connelly. And we don't know why, but Nick Nolte knows who she is, and he's got to figure out what happened to her.
So it's got a dead dame, and
yeah.
It's L.A.
She has a black and white, very tasteful, but also, that's not Jennifer Garner. Oh wait, no, it's her boobs and her face. It's not a body double. That's her. Oh my God.
Jennifer
Connelly, Rocketeer, Marion, Working for a Dream. John Malkovich is in it, as well as Treat Williams. I'm trying to tell you on this.
I wasn't quick enough. I was gonna be like, lest we forget, Alita Battle Angel. Hello.
Yes.
She was great.
Who is that other dude? It's Chris Penn, Chaz Palminteri.
Okay, it's on Prime.
Yeah. Nick Nolte.
All right.
Madsen.
Michael Madsen.
I think.
96.
Yeah.
I've got a late 90s one with a bunch of character actors. Maybe the most ever assembled. And this is one of those that I was just like, how did I never sit down and watch this? I finally watched Copland. Well,
Fucking great, isn't it?
what a great time!
I know,
man.
dude.
Just I want to watch it again soon, mainly because literally every 45 seconds or so there would be a new character introduced where I was like, that guy's in this,
Yeah.
and that guy.
Fuck it, really,
Oh my
Oda?
god. Yeah, dude.
Robert Patrick?
What? One of the best post Goodfellas Ray
Yes.
Liotta performances.
Yes.
For sure.
Indeed.
De Niro kind of playing against type,
But
not
killing
expecting it.
Yes, indeed.
Keitel, incredible. Stallone, probably, I think, inarguably his best performance.
That's
ever,
I was going to
in
tell you,
anything
dude. I
outside
was
of a
going to tell
Rocky
you.
movie.
I was going to tell you. That's
He's
the only
still-
one I go back to that
he's
it's like
still, I mean, if we're being real, does not hold a candle to literally any of his counterparts, but it's somehow, by being surrounded by that many just absolute killers, it elevates him to the best he can possibly be,
Right.
which is pretty impressive. He's
Right.
really good in this movie.
especially his
Also,
character.
kind of playing against type.
Right, because his character is a small town cop who's just kind of in over his head a little bit. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it fits. It's fitting. Yeah, I fucking love Copland. Where'd you watch it on? Because I want to watch it again.
We have Showtime for the moment. I believe
Okay,
it's on
gotcha.
Showtime, so you can watch it on Prime.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely one I wanted to hit. I'm gonna throw a few more at you, and then
Okay.
just very quickly. I finally caught up with Let Them All Talk. Let Them All Talk.
Okay.
Maybe I can
You can talk.
learn to talk. That was the recent Soderbergh. That was on HBO Max exclusively. Meryl Streep last year. Meryl Streep, Diane Wiest, Lost Boys,
Yeah.
and Candice Bergen as well.
Oh, Murphy Brown.
Super solid, dude. It's
Yeah.
they filmed it on the Queen Mary 2.
Oh, okay.
As it was shot live on the boat, amongst passengers, essentially.
Oh, neat.
And it's just straight dialogue and character stuff, and it's gorgeously shot, of course, because it's Soderbergh. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. A little long in the tooth, but not in a bad way. It's about 2 hours, but it earns its runtime though. I would say check it out if you're just in the mood to just watch some super solid dialogue. Some of it improvised, very off the cuff. Enjoyed it. Finally caught up also with Cajillionaire from last year.
I started it last night and I just couldn't do it.
Just didn't
Didn't
not
grab
vibe
me.
with it. Oh,
No.
dude, loved it. In retrospect, probably in my top 15 of last year.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoyed it. But did you ever see Me and You and Everyone We Know?
Maybe a long time ago.
It definitely, I don't know. Miranda July is definitely an acquired taste, just like her style in general. But that's what I like about her. Just nobody else makes movies like that.
Right.
She's only done 3 to my knowledge, unless I'm missing one. But Me and You and Everyone We Know with her boy John Hawkes.
Yeah.
And she's in it as well. She's fantastic in it. The Future, which is pretty solid, but probably even less approachable for you. And I loved Cajillionaire, dude.
I might give it a chance again.
Do you watch Westworld?
No.
So I've fallen off with it. I have watched every season, but to diminishing returns. I kind of hate the show at this point, but I've always liked Evan Rachel Wood as an actress.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was 100% just disappeared into a character.
Right.
In a way that I hadn't fully seen her do in a while in terms of a solid indie. And I don't know. I thought she was great. I love Richard Jenkins and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Was it Deborah Winger?
It was, yeah. Because I
Yeah,
recognize the
dude.
voice because I'm only familiar with her from
I don't know
the
when
ranch.
I don't know when you tapped out. Did you get to the airport scam?
No.
It's very early in the movie, but it introduces what the movie is actually about. There's another character that enters the equation. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the thrust of the movie.
Okay.
Basically, they meet another young woman when they're in the midst of this scheme and kind of incorporate her into it. And then she comes in to the family dynamic, and it's okay, how's this going to go? And that shift in like the status quo is what the movie is like centered around.
I gotcha.
It gets way better, but if you weren't vibing with it, I don't know when you tapped out exactly.
I tapped out kind of after the after the first little. He told her to go get a refund for the massage thing. It was very early.
Oh, okay.
And I just turned on Twister and watched Twister again because I.
That is the most Gavin thing I've ever heard.
Just for the deep purple.
I bailed on Cajillionaire to watch Twister. I highly recommend Cajillionaire. I even recommend that Gavin goes back and finishes it. It's on HBO Max right now if you want to watch it.
Okay.
It's to anybody that's interested.
Okay.
Including yourself, possibly. Okay. Did you watch The Conjuring? The Devil Made Me Do It?
No.
You did not?
I've not seen any Conjuring movies.
Zero.
Yeah. Those people are frauds.
The expanded universe.
Yeah.
Are you legit? You haven't seen any?
No, I haven't seen any.
Okay, so I don't. That's what
I want to talk to. I told you I want to talk about the state of horror when we get to October.
Absolutely,
that's going to be part of the conversation,
and we will.
And I'll probably watch all of them.
And I would love to actually like sit down with Mom. It doesn't necessarily have to be on a podcast. I know you're listening, Mom. I do want to talk to her about like what she loves about these, and like if she thinks they hold a candle in any way to some of the stuff that, to me, these movies are like huffing the fumes of.
Right.
But this one in particular was just like so many direct visual references to superior films, classic films, that it only draws your attention to like, oh, this is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And again, maybe that's my broken horror brain of just having watched too many of them and knowing the cliches, the pitfalls, etc. But I thought there was one decent, pretty like effective scare very early in the movie, and then just nothing did it for me for the rest. And I did not watch 2. Okay, I've only seen the first one. I've not seen any of the expanded universe, and I never watched 2, which I know a lot of people say is even better than the first one. I saw the first one in the theater, super hyped for it based on the trailer. Everybody else is losing their mind. I'm predicting every like move 5 beats before it happens.
Right.
And I just like, I was bummed out because I was like, I was wanting to be, and I respected the technique. I appreciated the actual like, oh, he's doing like long takes. He's actually building up some suspense.
The
like
German expressionistic type, like, oh yeah, I'm doing like a Halloween, like a long take. I'm not cutting quickly like the Saw movies and the Purge movies.
I don't know if there's much like German expressionism in The Conjuring. But anyways,
yeah.
Filmmaking terms.
Yeah.
Cinema.
Thin.
Okay. But I respected the technique. It just like, I was like, okay, didn't do it for me. Whatever. It goes on to become the biggest current horror franchise post Paranormal Activity, and I guess the Purge is swimming around in there somewhere in terms of like solid deliverable success in terms of budget.
You didn't watch that yet?
I'm waiting for it to drop.
Me too. I'm waiting for the price to drop because
I'm not dropping 20 for it. I'll tell you that much.
But it looked really interesting.
It did, and I was so excited until I realized that it's just directed by friggin' Darren Lynn Bousman, one of the guys who's made like a bunch of the terrible ones.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, but I thought we were bringing in like a new.
But I'll argue that like,
take.
but like if he's already having to operate in a set up thing and it's a franchise of like, we got to do this, we got to do that. If he doesn't get the chance to like stake his claim, kind of like the 2 guys who made the first one did, he's not gonna like. If you give him that chance with this, because every time I watched the trailer, I was like, oh fuck, okay, Chris Rock, fuck, Sam Jackson, my boy Nick from The Handmaid's Tale, he's in it. All right, let's do this. Yeah. So I'm waiting on that one to drop. I think that one will be one I will watch and talk about. Definitely.
I was going to say, I'm just going to wait for October, and that'll definitely be one that we cover, because it will have to be discounted.
I'm sure.
By then.
If not, it'll be out.
Or it'll be like on Hulu.
Yeah.
They will have picked it up or some shit.
Exactly.
So, okay, we'll hit a few more. We're almost about 20 minutes in. We should probably kick off the 2x2. But yeah, anyways, Conjuring, not directed by James Wan.
Right.
The third one that I'm talking about here, The Devil Made Me Do It. And like, gone are the slow, like, tension-filled build-ups, long takes. A lot more quick cutty, and a lot of like the problems I had with the It movies of like loud sound design and CGI just pumping in my face does not scare me. It doesn't do it for me.
Like that movie we talked
And I
about
realized,
last
like,
time.
in a theater, amongst a mass of people on a giant screen, maybe it plays differently than, like, watching it at home. But, I tried to set the mood. I turned all the lights out. I lit a candle. I was trying. And admittedly, it's not really my vibe. Like, that ghost story / supernatural entity. I like movies that have those elements, but that's not, like, my go-to. That's not what scares me in horror. Like,
The Empty Man?
Yes.
Like that. There's no jump that.
There's a
but
different kind of
Right.
supernatural. And it's all about, like, tone at the end of the day.
Right.
Like with The Empty Man, which
Subtlety.
doesn't have any, like, true jump scares, but
Right.
has, like, bone-chilling moments like we talked about.
Visually scary.
We're getting amped on October. Summer is not even over yet.
Right. Can I finish with the few I have left? I'm just going to reel them off real quick.
Oh,
you got any
please
more?
do. Just Conjuring 3, not a fan.
Okay.
It is on HBO Max, I think, for like another week if you do want to check it out, though.
Okay. Brand new ones. I watched Becky with Kevin James.
Okay.
It's not what I thought it was going to be, but also good. I have a problem when dogs die on screen, so if you are skidded, you don't like that, don't watch this movie. But other than that, it was all stylistically, visually looked pretty good. Story was kind of
They really should have a disclaimer before the movie that's like rated D for dog death.
Yeah.
And rated double D for dog death. And just let everybody know.
Right, exactly.
There is a site, though, just for anybody who's
Good.
curious.
I'll run it through.
I think it's literally called, like, does the dog die or does the cat die? And you can look up any movie and see basically if there's any animal death, or even like, oh, they threw a cat around like roughly for a second or something like that. Like, it tells you everything, so that if you have any of those triggers with movies, that you can.
Now, luckily, it was a King Corso, not a pit bull, but I did watch this with Bex. So when there was a dog that got killed, she was like, "Oh fuck no!" And then like she was just on edge for the rest of the movie, and I was like, "Okay."
There are multiple horror movies that I've had to abandon ship on because I was rewatching them with Veronica, forgetting that there was cat related stuff in them, and then having to bail. Drag Me to Hell, perfect example.
Yeah.
We were a good ways through, and I was like, oh shit. Oh shit, she kills her. Yeah, she kills her cat. Oh, we gotta bail on this one. But I'm doing all this internally, and then Veronica's like, oh, why are we not watching? I'm like, because, like, you're definitely not going to be able to root for her character after she does this.
But
like,
you might like the ending, so hey, why don't we just stick it
and
out?
That's what I wanted to say, but I was like, she's not going to, like, she's just going to be so checked out on the movie after this that she's, like, not good. But she was digging it up until that point, and I was just like, oh, God.
Just go get a drink. Go get a drink. Go get a drink.
Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
One Night in Bangkok. Brand new one.
Okay.
Imagine if, like, Tom Cruise wasn't doing bad shit, he was just getting revenge. And Collateral, it's basically that, but it's Mark Dacascos. So.
Oh, okay.
You know, yeah.
So a little different.
Yeah, he doesn't do a lot of fighting, just a lot of guns.
Man. A lot of gun stuff, you said?
Yeah, but it's pretty dope. I mean, I like him. You definitely, I don't know if he was trying to do anything with it. He seemed like he was having a fun time. I would recommend it if you just want to throw something on that you don't have to worry about. And the last new one I watched was The Gentleman, from Mr. Guy Ritchie.
Where is that available
now? If not Hulu, it's on Prime. One of the two.
Okay.
Fucking loved it.
Table it, because
It'll be.
give it a shot.
If you had any
it's
problem
the
with
first Guy Ritchie one I've been excited about.
if you've had any problem with anything with him in the last couple outings, Robin Hood,
skipped it.
yeah.
King Arthur, skipped it. No. Wait, Robin Hood? That's
not Robin Hood. King Arthur's what
King
I'm thinking
Arthur,
of.
skipped it.
Which I did like.
Aladdin, skipped it. Man from U.N.C.L.E., skipped it. Heard it was good, though.
I did like Man from U.N.C.L.E. I did not know he did Aladdin.
He did do Aladdin.
Holy shit balls.
Skipped it as well.
Yeah.
I think I already said that.
You will the way this is set up, the filmically, like how the narrative transpires is brilliant to me, and everybody's a player in it. I fucking love it. If you're not impressed, I'll be amazed.
Okay.
Yeah, and finished The Handmaid's Tale, started watching Clarkson's Farm, finished all 4 seasons of The Great Pottery Throwdown, British show.
Okay.
And Finished Hacks, like we said.
We both finished Hacks. Huge recommend.
Love
One of
it.
my favorite shows of the year. Definitely will probably be sticking around on the old top 10 list.
And I already told you I rewatched Twister, but I also rewatched True Romance and The Manchurian Candidate, which technically I had never seen.
OG or Denzel?
Denzel.
Very nice. Saw it in the theater with Mom.
Very striking. Some of the imagery kind of fucked with me a little bit. Who made that movie? I didn't catch the director. Who was it? Somebody important? Somebody good? Is it Antoine Fuqua?
It's an Oscar winner.
Was it John Singleton?
It is a John. A Thin.
Demi?
Yep.
Oh!
Yeah, it's a Demi movie.
That makes complete sense why I was disturbed.
all the close-ups. all the intense fucking close-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the fucking, like, mind control. Yeah. Fucking, yeah.
We gave them a war hero. Forced in the desert in the dark. That's my streep.
If you like...
That's my streep.
That's not great.
No, it's
if
not.
you like... You did the whole... My daughter, Nick Nolte thing you did. Like, if you like that, you will love Mulholland Falls. There's a lot of Nick Nolte getting to that level in that movie. I promise you.
Dude, if I could take like his Cape Fear energy, not De Niro's Cape Fear energy, Nick Nolte's Cape Fear energy, and like merge it with Pacino's Heat energy, I feel like you couldn't even put it on camera. It would be so electric. You know what I'm saying?
Like, if I ever got to direct a movie, that's the direction I would give my actor. All right, you know De Niro from Heat? Yeah. Nick Nolte, back half of Cape Fear? Yeah. Use that scene and just watch him go. Like, you know.
You know what? Act like David Caruso in Jade.
Do it like Gary Oldman from The Professional.
Okay.
Everyone!
All right. I did have one final one. I went back to the theater. Recently.
What'd you watch?
The Sparks Brothers, the first of 2 Edgar Wright movies from this year.
Oh, okay.
It's a documentary on the band Sparks. It was very, very good.
That's good.
It's only in theaters right now. It'll be on VOD eventually, but if it is playing near you and you feel comfortable going out to a theater, or if you're comfortable sitting with a mask on, go for it.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. One of my favorite movies of the year so far. One of the best docs I've seen. Maybe Gavin and I can talk about it in a couple of weeks, and I think I actually will have a special guest coming in to discuss that movie specifically, but more on that later.
Okay.
Okay.
Blood and Wine.
Blood and Wine. From 1996, is that correct?
Yeah, we are like, what? We are halfway through the tour.
What's that?
We're halfway through the tour, baby.
What tour?
We've knocked down 94, 95. We got 96 to go. We already got the news. Dad's coming back in 98 after a trip to Korea.
We're
in the middle of Japan.
Life. I was a little lost there.
Sorry.
Apologies. Okay. Before we get too much further, let's take a listen to the trailer.
This is 1,000 points of light. What did you just do?
I like to take a photo of the goods. Avoids any disagreement on the sale.
You got me in the picture.
Did I?
Alex Gates thought he committed the perfect crime.
Any calls?
Somebody from the police department.
But there were some things he didn't count on.
Nice to have you home, just for the novelty.
This is my stepson, Jason. Gabriella, Jason, Gabriella. I'm gonna take you places, baby.
Oh, yeah, where?
You trust the girl?
Yeah, I trust her. She doesn't know anything.
I put Terry's life insurance into that store, and you spend it on your girlfriends while my checks bounce.
Don't you tell me I didn't try.
All right, give me the keys.
You are gonna talk to me.
What happened?
We're leaving.
They won't be hard to find. I know how they think.
This was in the suitcase.
Sue me if we ever find the kid. We'll use a blowtorch on him.
I found it. Come quickly.
You told him how to find us.
He's only a kid.
He's a thief. Him and his mother.
Where is it?
I already gave the damn thing back to Alex.
Why don't I believe you?
Jack Nicholson.
He'll make a move soon, Dick.
He told me you already did.
You talk to Jason?
You think you can cut me out?
Stephen Dorff.
Who's your English pal?
He coming after you too, Jason. You figured that out?
Count on it.
Jennifer Lopez.
Don't look at me like that.
You slept with him.
You're crazy.
Where?
No place, okay? No place!
Judy Davis,
Sometimes you gotta keep up relationships.
Apparently not with me.
and Michael Caine.
There's no such thing as honor among thieves. It's a myth.
Stealing a fortune is easy.
Don't do this. You did.
Keeping it can be murder.
Wake up, Alex. Why are you not gonna make it? I want to see your face.
Blood and Wine.
Just tell me where it is so I can get out of your life.
Well, that was intense.
Yeah.
I love 90s trailers.
I love anytime we got a trailer guy voice, man. I miss it so much.
Was it Don LaFontaine? Is that his name?
He was one of the big ones. That's definitely not Don Lonvo.
Oh, yeah, no, not on this one, no.
I don't know who that guy was. But he did a decent job. It was a pretty,
Yeah.
If that was a radio ad, I'm checking it out at least. Huge bomb. We can say that from the top. Made just under $2 million at the U.S. box office. Not a hit. Not the late period hit Rafelson was probably hoping for. As I mentioned, directed by Bob Rafelson. Gavin, I'm pretty positive you've never seen 5 Easy Pieces or The King of Marvin Gardens. I'd be glad to lend you my criterions when you leave here tonight. Both fantastic. Both starring Jack Nicholson.
The King of Marvin Gardens.
Him and Bruce Dern and Ellen Burstyn, dude.
They're playing Monopoly the entire time?
No, they're hanging out in Atlantic City, and it's just a character study. It's fucking really good. Very good movie.
And
5 Easy Pieces is a straight-up masterpiece.
And those came out when?
70s.
Of course. What? Wait, why should I even ask?
Oh, well, yeah.
Excuse me. I'm so sorry. They were happening in the 70s.
He also directed one that I have yet to get to, but Stay Hungry, the Schwarzenegger, Jeff Bridges movie. Are you familiar with this movie?
I know, yeah. Never seen it, but I know which one you're talking
It's available on Pluto TV right now, so I may be checking that out very, very soon.
What do you want to do? You want to do plot time again?
I guess
this
it's
is your
my
pick,
job because it is the one that I picked.
Yeah.
So this is a sun drenched. Not really. A lot of it takes place at night. And I guess that's my question. Did it feel like Florida to you?
No.
I think they did shoot on location, or maybe
only like a few times did I get the feel like, okay, like that's Miami. They do mention going places that are close to Miami, like was it Largo Key or wherever they wound up going to get away from.
Yeah.
So
they did film in Key Largo and just Virginia Key, Florida as well, and then a lot of shooting in Illinois as well. Where I'm like, okay, well, what part of the movie was that?
I feel like the car stuff, backing down the country roads, because having one of the things I think I've mentioned whenever I've talked about my travels and my fun time in Florida is always trying to find a different route than what everyone goes down. So not using not I-95 as much, I-4 and I-75. When I come home, I actually go up U.S. Highway 301 and 441, They run all over the place because kids, before there was the interstate, there was the U.S. highway system. And if you get on U.S. Highway 1...
I love how you're assuming that anybody under the age of 20 listens to this show.
I know, yeah. Listen, there's some people I talk to, they don't realize that the white signs mean something different than the blue one. So I have to tell people this. But anyway, I would imagine some of that stuff where they're doing the car chase shit, probably Illinois.
Okay.
Maybe some of the houses. But yeah.
Let me lay it down. Okay. Jack Nicholson plays Alex Gates, as you heard there in the trailer. And he's got a fledgling wine business. Not a lot of wine.
No.
One of my first notes for a movie called Blood and Wine. Not a lot of wine. But he's a wine dealer. It's not going great. And we subsequently find out that he's in debt. He's trying to get a score to get him out from under. Desperate times, that sort of thing. He has a stepson, played by Mr. Stephen Dorff. And this is pre-Blade.
Right.
Yes.
Before Blade.
Yeah, we'll get into everybody's career points. But basically, the stepson, he's a fisherman, working with old Harold Perrineau Jr.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I thought you'd enjoy that.
I did enjoy that very much, actually.
And his mother, Nicholson's wife, is played by Judy Davis, who we could talk about for an entire podcast. Very interesting actress.
Yes.
And he has a planned heist. with the assistance of his English buddy, played by Michael Caine.
Mr. Michael Caine. Sir Michael Caine.
The size of a tangerine.
Some men just want to watch the world.
Everybody goes to Dark Knight, but I'm all about Rises, dude. I failed you.
Yeah. Never mind.
Barry. I would wait. That's totally not him. It's like, I will not bury another way. Okay.
I've telegraphed him at the end of the film. What I always wanted for you. Anyway.
Okay.
But side note, real quick, I've been listening to a lot of, I don't know about that with Jim Jeffries and the way that he does different people's accents. Like, if you're from Brighton, he'd be like, oh, that's all right, great. Just like him doing other people from the UK's accent is ridiculous. If you haven't listened to that show, you ought to take a look. Listen, it's pretty funny.
Take a look and listen.
Look and listen, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, he's got a scheme which involves the assistance of his English criminal buddy, played by Michael Caine.
Which I got to say, I thought was going to go off with like something bad. Like, oh, somebody got killed when they weren't supposed to. Goes off without a hitch.
Oh, yeah.
No problem.
This is all about the aftermath of a heist. And the wild card in this scenario, if you will, is the nanny who works at the family of the place that they're robbing.
Right.
And they're getting a gorgeous diamond necklace. I don't know. I'm not a jewelry guy.
No, me neither.
I'm not. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, excuse me. Jennifer Lopez plays Gabriella.
This is like right around the time of Anaconda, right?
Well, yeah, right in the neighborhood. We'll get into everybody's careers in a minute.
Post Selena.
But basically, yes,
pre-Anaconda.
The heist goes off without a hitch.
Yes.
The complications come from the fact that Nicholson's having, spoiler alert, an affair with Jennifer Lopez, and the wife is aware, and yeah, she
eventually calls him on it.
Yeah, basically
at the most inopportune time.
Yes, the worst possible time, when he's like literally a plane ride away from basically sewing up his future and basically disappearing with Jennifer Lopez. Before we get into where everybody was in their career, I just got to point out from the top. How did you feel about the simple fact that, like, it's basically revealed, oh, there's a romantic relationship between Jack Nicholson and Jennifer Lopez? Did you brush up against the age difference?
Nope.
And did you also happen to look up the age difference?
Didn't look up the age difference, didn't brush up against it, because Noah, Florida is a magical place where anyone's dreams can come true.
Okay.
So let's just say that up from Jump Street.
Are you curious, though?
What's it, 20 years?
To bring it up? 32 years. Her senior.
Hey.
32 years. And here's the main reason I wanted to bring it up. Because I 100% buy it.
Oh, of course.
Because the raw sexual magnetism of Jack Nicholson continued well into the 2000s, I would say.
I would, yeah. If not, I mean, I haven't seen him lately, but you never know. Old Jack could still have it.
Yeah, none of us have seen him lately. I don't think for the last few years, actually.
Yeah.
I hope he's doing well. He was supposed to come back to acting, and then it never quite happened.
I like to think that maybe he's
about Nicholson in the 90s.
What if he had this amazing career in Ukraine or one of these Eastern European countries, and we just never going to see the movies he's been in?
Oh, dude, I would love if there's a treasure trove of lost Nicholson movies from the last several years.
That'd be great.
Okay. So the man is coming off an Oscar nomination, if I'm not mistaken, for Batman, correct? In 1989? He got the nom.
He got the nom, yeah.
Is that correct?
I believe so.
No.
He didn't.
He was not nominated. Excuse me. It won for Best Art Direction.
Oh.
Oh, excuse me. But that's it.
That's wild.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. Well, disregard. He's coming off the rousing success of Batman, where he was paid, if I'm not mistaken, the most money of any actor at the time for a single role.
Right.
I think he made $20 million at the time, if I'm not mistaken. Was this the first $20 million movie?
I believe so.
But I also know he notoriously got the crazy merchandising deal, where it was some ridiculous percentage of all the merch straight to him, basically for agreeing to be in a comic book movie. Mm-hmm. And so he parlayed that into a 90s where he could pretty much do whatever the hell he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately starting with The Two Jakes in 1990, which he directs and stars in. It's the sequel to Chinatown.
Yes.
With him and Harvey Keitel.
Because we all know
One
he
of
is
those
on
that
the
you-
same level as, what's his face?
What?
Polanski.
I mean, we can talk about that whole side of things, but I would really rather just...
No, I'm saying artistically as a director, he is on the same level, if not better than Polanski. He should make the sequel. It goes without saying, right? We're not in
The
agreement.
Two Jakes is one of those movies that, when I watched it, this was also a Sycamore rental, probably right around the same time as Blood and Wine. Mm-hmm. But I was like, oh, I want it to be like, oh, everybody overlooked this. It's incredible. And like, it's really good, but like, it's not Chinatown.
Right. Yeah.
It's just not.
It's not Chinatown.
In this case, it's not
Chinatown. Jake, it's not.
And I'm sure that was pretty much every review at the time.
Right.
Hey, guess what? It's not Chinatown. Then he does Man Trouble in 92, which I have not seen. That's another Bob Rafelson joint.
Oh, wow.
The least well-regarded from what I understand, but co-starring the lovely and talented Ellen Barkin.
Oh, okay.
Harry Dean Stanton. Beverly D'Angelo. Michael McKean. Saul Rubinek, dude. It looks like a pretty... Veronica Cartwright's in there.
Oh, wow.
Looks like a pretty solid cast. So if it ever pops up on streaming, Man Trouble. It's a comedy romance about a sleazy but... Oh, what? Hold on a moment. A sleazy but affable guard dog trainer is blackmailed to steal a manuscript for a tell-all book from one of his clients. Sounds like a very simple, clean plot and narrative.
Wow.
So nobody cares about Man Trouble. Does not do well. But the same year, dude.
They can't handle the truth.
They
Noah.
can't handle it.
They can't.
Is that an Oscar nomination?
It has to be.
Come on.
I mean, Kenny, come on. That's
Yes,
iconic.
he did get Best Supporting nomination. Did not win, but got the nod. Okay. Also same year, Hoffa. Directed by DeVito.
Oh, okay.
Solid movie. Another one I was like, oh, I want to love this, but it's all right. It's no Death to Smoochie. I'll tell you
Right.
that. He does Wolf in 94. Kind of a cable classic.
Yeah, I remember it vaguely.
One of the weirdest, wait, Mike Nichols directed this?
Oh, yeah.
Very, very strange pairing, but and I think it did okay. Reasonable hit. I think, at least worldwide. And then we get into this stretch where it's like, oh, he's doing kind of more interesting, small scale a bit. Does The Crossing Guard, the first collaboration with Sean Penn. We talked about The Pledge on our first episode of this season. And so that was the first outing with Penn. I've told you a little bit about it. Definitely not a candidate I want to do. Just a depressing, dark fucking movie that's not particularly enjoyable, but he is very good in it. And then we hit Blood and Wine, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Just to round out his 90s. The Evening Star, which I know nothing about. Mars Attacks, childhood classic. We saw it in the theater. Total blast. Playing
That's
multiple
weird.
characters.
They bill it, well, it must have, maybe Blood and Wine was one of those, it'll be out in theaters, and because it had to come out, after Mars Attacks. Mars Attacks is December of 96. This has it here as to February 21st, 97, but I imagine they probably did limited release.
I feel like Blood and Wine's probably a late fall release, I would imagine.
No, it's got
Or does
release
it have-
date February 27th,
it's
97.
Dump month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was probably limited in 96 and then got released in 97. Okay. But Mars Attacks, and then, the next year, all of this is washed away because he fucking wins another Oscar for As Good as It Gets.
Which I've actually never seen.
It's a good movie. It's not my favorite Nicholson.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, I guess it was his persona. One thing I like about this is when I was going through this period where I was he's one of my favorite actors, let me just dive into everything. It was basically when I had started watching a lot of the 70s stuff, starting with the tail end of the 60s with Easy Rider, and then expanding into all the new Hollywood stuff.
Right.
And I watched 5 Easy Pieces and start going from there basically. And I'm like, oh, he's literally, I see why he's considered one of the greats alongside Pacino, De Niro, etc. And I also knew at that point, I was like, well, he has the reputation of, like, he became one of those guys who, like, he became more of the persona of himself and not really, like, characters. And I was like, well, when is that Jack, period? And I really don't feel like it really isn't until, like, the 2000s.
Right.
But he even reclaims it very early on in, like, something like About Schmidt.
Oh,
which is total, like, you know, an acknowledgement of, like, how everybody... It's totally playing against type at that point from, like, what people probably expected. And then what's he follow it up with? Anger management, which I feel like is, like, that's the Jack, like, persona.
The whole reason
his
that
real
Sandler
life
gets
persona
Jack for
more,
that is because, like, it's Jack.
Right.
But then you go against type with the Pledge as well, because I don't feel like he's playing towards that anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Then
So
you
I
come
feel
back
like
to it with the
he
Departed.
always kind of balanced it out.
Right.
Where I feel like you
One
did
for
see
them,
kind of...
one for him.
You did see kind of runs from Pacino and De Niro where it just felt like diminishing returns. Like, what are you guys doing? What's going on here? Kind of thing.
But I'll argue that, like, at that
but even
point...
they have, you know, peaks and valleys.
At that point, they got nothing to prove. At that point, you know what I mean?
All of them. Yeah.
All of them. And so, like...
They're all Oscar winners.
Yeah, they've all won. They've all
they
done
maybe
this.
didn't win for, you know, the ones they should, but they all racked one up at some point. Yeah.
And so you could even track this as, like, who gets the longevity of a career off of a name opposed to who's got the best, like, catalog overall, performance-wise. Because at the end of the day, it's just playing pretend. It's just getting up there and reading, saying something to someone else. But who does it the best, you know? Yeah. And to be honest, one of the things about this I really enjoyed was Steven Dorff. Because you know how he exists in my mind, Noah?
Somewhere between
Blade,
Deacon Frost, and
Blade, Deuces Wild, True Detective. That's
May
it.
we never forget Deuces Wild.
Those are the three things. Sorry.
Another one, I'm sorry, I'm shocked that you have not thrown my way.
Yeah.
Since we started doing this.
It's because I love you.
You got to save some stuff for season 3.
Exactly. And I'll even argue Cecil B. Demented. Like, those are the four things that
that
exist.
one I could be down for.
Those are the four things that exist in me.
Some John Waters on this podcast.
Oh, we can. Point. We can do that anytime you want.
Pecker?
Yeah, sure.
Pecker. We could do Pink Flamingos if you want to.
Yeah.
Multiple Maniacs is on HBO Max.
I was going to say, yeah, that's on there too. He just talked with Mark Maron as well.
Great episode.
Oh, yeah. One of the best.
Hey, if you haven't heard, or if you're not subscribed to WTF, you know,
go do it. Yeah.
Anyways,
I'm going to send him an email and be like, dude, we
promote your podcast to the 15 to 25 people that listen to us. So can you
but it's just because
give us
it's
a
so
shout
good.
out, bro?
It's just because you're so good at it. It's all right. Yeah. But yeah, no, Steven Dorff. That's the highlight for me because I don't think I've ever seen him anything that like I watched something the other day. It was Coal Creek Manor with Quaid, and he was in that. And I was like, holy shit, here he is!
Sharon
like
Stone.
It's like it's this. He exists as like a weird. I haven't done it. I need to. I want to like get his relationship to Hollywood and how he's perceived by people at different times, because I feel like he's one of these people that like he came out a while ago. I was like, yeah, I like am a smoker, was a smoker, and like that kind of ostracized me from certain people in the industry. They may have not looked at me a certain way, this and that, and I feel like since True Detective season 3, he's kind of come up. People are like, where the hell's this guy been? And it's like, it's even what Mark Maron said when he talked to Steven Dorff. Like, you disappeared and you show back up in this. I know he had a Fox show. I don't know if they've canceled that yet because Fox cancels everything. And I don't know if he's been anything. He was in a movie as like he was a MMA fighter. It was about his son. I didn't watch it, but it looked good. Like a study on toxic masculinity or something. But he was a surprising gem in this because it was like he's perfect for it. He can hold his own with big guys like that, and so when he, if that's who he's kind of like quote unquote cutting his teeth on, and he's got Michael Caine, he's got Jack Nicholson. I feel like the chemistry with Jennifer Lopez is right there, but he also has like his own kind of brooding, I want something more from life deal going on. But he also is a streetwise hustler, so it's kind of like he's got it all. And that was the one thing I will say. I think
he's solid in it, and it is. I mean, it is kind of a demanding role in as much as like we start with him. It's very much like his story.
That's what it feels like.
That like Nicholson and Kane are like supporting characters,
right?
In, but it's he's kind of your hero if there is one, which there's not really a hero in this scenario, and it's kind of it's got noir vibes, and it's got the instincts of a 70s movie, but still shot in a very 90s way, which I think is where a little bit of the disconnect happens with me, where I'm like, I like this, I want to love it though. And again, I told you before we went back to this, I was hoping, I like kind of liked it when I was a kid, maybe I'll love it or like get more out of it now. That didn't really happen.
I've just brain pop idea. You got to name this episode Florida, No Place for Heroes. ... Done.
What's that? The name of the episode is 2x2 Retro Review, Season 2, Episode 6, Blood and Wine, X, Scarface.
Florida, No Place for Heroes.
Okay, I'll see if I can fit
See if you can fix that in there. That'd be great.
Okay.
Or just maybe put it on the cover art, That'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll get right on that.
Yeah.
I'll get a man right on that job.
Yeah, okay. You are the only man. We know that.
Okay. So let me throw something out to you. You may have seen it in the trivia. This may not be like a revelation. I'm glad that you liked him in it. But imagine if it wasn't Steven Dorff, and instead it was a 1996 Ethan Hawke. Better movie?
My own private dreamboat. What? I'm sorry.
Oh, both of them?
Oh, sorry.
On a yacht somewhere?
No, I'm just...
In the Keys?
I can see it. I know. I can see Ethan Hawke in that. Yeah, I can.
Well, I'm just saying that's who they wanted originally. He was like this close to doing it. This is like this would have been the same year as what, Before Sunrise?
I was gonna say, was he doing Before Sunrise?
I think so.
Sunset,
or he would have maybe just finished it.
Yeah,
right around the same time.
So
yeah. But yeah, I'm sure it was something else. Maybe it was like, when's Gattaca? Is that 97 or 98?
If it 98.
I feel like that was probably like a lengthy shoot or something. I don't know. But anyways, he declined and did something else instead. And I feel like had it been a bigger success, Dorff would have popped here.
Right.
Because I do think he's really solid in it. But instead, he's just got to wait like 2 more years. But oddly, Blade doesn't really like... I mean, weirdly, he was a name to us as kids. I don't really know why. Other than just like... There was Blade. Like you said, there was Deuces Wild. But what else was in there that like... made him Steven Dorff to us? You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like there had to be something.
I don't know why we latched on to him.
Is it just the name?
Is it
that charisma? There something? There's definitely something about him.
I did watch Blade like an inordinate amount of times, and it was on TNT so much when we were kids.
Yeah, but I'll argue that like, if I'm like seriously, I'll admit this on camera, and on microphone.
Are you fucking filming us,
yeah,
bro?
Yeah, of course.
You filming me, bro?
Yeah, bro. Hey, don't pop off. We don't appreciate it. He was one of the dudes that I was like, as I'm growing up watching, I'm like, I could be him. I want to be him. Like
Ryan Phillippe.
And Leonardo DiCaprio. And somewhere in there is, oddly enough, Jean Reno.
Dude, DiCaprio? Yeah, Jean Reno. That's kind of all your personalities rolled into one.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and think about like DiCaprio in this, like going toe to toe with Nicholson.
See, I don't think
full like decade before they do it in The Departed.
That could
have been interesting.
Yeah. Or what about De Niro in The Departed?
I'm not trying to just like brush Steven Dorff aside. He's very good at it.
No, he is.
Okay. Nicholson, I think he's playing a character. He's doing some of his old tricks.
Yeah.
Some of his natural charisma, but it works for me. I don't even think it's in like the top 20 best Nicholson performances.
No.
But it's not a bad one either. So, not that I don't know if there are any like bad like stinkers for me.
He's only one of one of very few that I can look at and be like, nah, I'll watch anything. It doesn't matter what it is. You know?
And that's the thing with this movie in general is like a little cliched in some parts. Maybe you want it to be a little more twisty, go a little more in depth with things, but like it's pretty fucking watchable, I think. As like I again, I was kind of in the mood for like a 90s, again, like I said, a light thriller.
Yeah.
Like, the stakes are not too high in this, other than like, and I guess in different hands, in more quote unquote like postmodern hands,
right?
This is a Coen Brothers movie. This kind of crime aftermath, bunch of corrupt characters, like how do things shake out?
Somebody dies for no reason.
But it doesn't have that Coen Brothers-esque like sense of dark irony or like, you know, grander themes really. It is just kind of like a noir exercise that happens to be elevated by, I think, some pretty decent dialogue and some pretty solid performance. For me, the highlight is Michael Caine as this like literally on death's door.
Right. Jewel thief who's just like, I'm literally like smoking myself to death. I've got my inhaler and shit. The coughing he does in this, dude, I'm like, dude, somebody get him. Is he okay? Literally, like, is he gonna make it?
I think he drank all the wine and now he's coughing up all the blood, yo.
Damn.
That's what it was all about. It was all about Victor, about Michael Caine's character.
Victor.
And yeah, you get the idea from, you know, they pull off the heist. They show up at this house. Very easy safe cracking incident. They just pose as pest control. Are they pest control or what was the deal? Or no, they're working on the pipes because he has a wine cellar.
Right. They got to get in to make sure it stays cool. Yeah.
And Gabriella's already been fired, so that was a wrench into the plan. She was supposed to let them in, so the security guys show up, but they still managed to pull it off. They get the necklace. They're all in the clear, right?
Right.
All they got to do, take it to New York, see the fence essentially, sell it, good to go. Nicholson is packing. He's about to go meet Gabriella, played by Jennifer Lopez once again. I think we got all the character names down. And old Judy Davis is just, she's not having it, dude. And they tussle, they get into it, and she, for the first time in this movie, a reoccurring thing of the noir genre, a principal character who just like consistently gets the shit beaten out of him. And in this movie, it's Nicholson.
Yeah.
He gets like roughed up multiple times.
Indeed.
By Judy Davis, by Michael Caine, by Stephen Dorff, by a boat. Spoiler alert. Yeah. So basically, they have a huge fight. She leaves with his luggage, which happens to contain the necklace, and she and son Stephen Dorff go on the run. The kind of the midsection of the movie is now Nicholson and Caine hunting them down, and Nicholson kind of seems like he's having a slight change of heart, or at least like seeing the damage that he's done by like obviously cheating on his wife and this kind of like terse relationship he has with the stepson. And so he's a little reticent when in the midst of this, you know, pretty decent little car chase. It's nothing special.
Yeah.
But car gets flipped. Michael Caine pits it basically, and Judy Davis dies in the car wreck. And Stephen Dorff is incapacitated but survives. And Nicholson's like visibly upset, but still, dude, one of the darker moments in the entire movie. As he's talking to her and as she's basically taking her dying breaths, is like, where is it? Like, just tell me where it is so I get out of your life, blah, blah, blah. And she just tells him, fuck you. And it's like, have you seen Judy Davis in anything else, dude?
No, where
Naked
would I know?
Lunch.
You'd have to tell me something.
What are the other big Judy Davis movies?
Yeah, I just...
Oh, my God.
There's a... I don't know. The fact that he is still like... Oh, I'm trying to
Excuse me, Barton Fink, Coen Brothers.
Okay.
Movie. That's the other big one.
Yeah, well, like, the fact that he's, like, upset, but, like, he's still the diamond thing, it's kind of like, are you worried about Michael Caine killing you? Because, like, he's dying.
Right.
He's not going to be that big of a threat. Or are you wanting this diamond because you're cutting him out and you and Jennifer Lopez are going to run off together. You're never going to see him again. Even though he does have insurance on you that, he, cleverly took the photo of you with the diamond. Yeah. So, and yeah, you have the whole she's dead, he's still alive. Then you have the back and forth of, Stephen Dorff knowing what they're there for. He, buys the boat. He finds out that it's worth a fuck ton of money. The back and forth, like, I already gave it to him, like, blah, 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 blah.
There's the will they, won't they? Is she going to sleep with the stepson as well? Jennifer Lopez. And apparently, found this in the trivia, they did shoot a sex scene between the two of them, but it was cut from the film. I think wisely so, because instead it does keep it ambiguous as to whether, like, Nicholson is justified in his, like, paranoia that they're going to double cross him, or whether anything actually happened between them, because we don't see anything.
Right.
And yeah, anyways, basically we build to the climax. The necklace has changed hands several times, but we're out on the boat. It's a face-off between Dorff and Nicholson. Things escalate, and somehow Nicholson's trying to get back to the dock, and an injured Dorff just like throttles the boat.
Right.
So he slips, he can't make it to the dock, falls in the water, and then he's climbing up the ladder to get out, and Dorff reverses the boat into him twice. And the first time he does it, I'm just like, oh my god, because I'm picturing like it's basically the moment in Jaws when the rope line gets like caught behind the backs of the knees, combined with when Quint like gets his legs bitten by the shark. But yeah, just the idea of that boat like crushing into him. So Jennifer Lopez is driven off by this point, but she ends up doubling back. And you're like, oh, is she gonna like go off with Stephen Dorff and like they're gonna start a new life together? And no, in true 70s fashion, like she goes her own separate way. They don't leave together, right? He goes off on the boat.
Right, he leaves.
She drives away. He goes off on the boat. Nicholson's left there with the necklace. Spoiler alert: Jennifer Lopez took one stone.
So there's two still missing now. Two stones missing.
Which is probably going to be enough. And anyways, he chucks it into the water off the dock, and that's the end of the movie. We just see Dorff like sailing off into the sunset. So nobody got the necklace, and in true 70s fashion, there was no actual like resolution or like a happy ending for anybody. It was just kind of the downward spiral of everybody's individual greed, and it's kind of a morality play, a little bit of noir in there. I feel like I kind of want a little more of the dynamic between Nicholson and Dorff established before things kick into gear, if you will.
Right.
I feel like he and Judi Davis are like such good actors that you get and the dialogue's pretty solid in like their one interaction where he's just like, can we skip all of the things you like to argue about, or like, can we hit all these points later, blah, blah, blah. And you get the feeling that like, okay, yeah, they've been married for a while. Like, okay, this is not his kid, so
yeah,
who knows when they got together exactly. Like, has he been raising or been an absentee father for like most of this kid's life, or just recently? Like, I want a little bit more color there, because I think it would deepen the like kind of midsection of the movie, which is more centered around the family dynamics, and Jennifer Lopez kind of fades to the background. I also want a little more of Jennifer Lopez, because they're telling, interesting side pairing here with Scarface, but they're telling like a Cuban immigrant story here as well, in a more modern context than Scarface, obviously. And like, there is that thing of you almost like, you do want to see her get the stones at the end and like go off and like live a better life, but she kind of just leaves it be, other than she has the one stone, which is probably enough to get her at least out of Miami, or get more of her family there, which I think is basically her ultimate goal. But yeah, any thoughts on it? I'm sorry I gave you kind of just a meh.
No, I mean, if I'm putting it in 90s true crime, it deserves an honorable mention.
It's not true crime. It's just crime.
No, true crime is like an overall thing for like, this could have been based on something, or any kind of crime thriller, whatever you want to call it. Like,
then yeah.
If I'm putting it in that, I definitely don't. I mean, it's an honorable mention. I'm not going to put it on my top 100 of like crime stuff, and it doesn't really rate that anywhere for me for like a Miami movie, or like a Florida.
Yeah, no. I felt like there was more. texture to it in my memory of it.
It does keep in fashion that Florida is a dark place that no one should ever venture into. Yes, you be ready and prepared to sacrifice your soul. However, you know, as we're going to see with the next one, I don't know, for what the next one shows us of like Miami, the place they're supposed to be, wherever, I don't get enough of that here for me to even, like I said, even throw it into a like, oh, this is just like a, you know, a Florida movie or a, you know, a slice of Miami at this point in time. Because I think I've mentioned it on other podcasts. I'm very interested in like what's going on in the 90s in certain places, not like filmically, but like how we view them, you know. Obviously, in the mid-'90s, we get Bad Boys, and we associate that with Miami. And I think the next biggest thing before that was Scarface. So you have that version of Miami that is, you know, hey, that's not a bad look. It's a little bit Miami Vice. It's a lot of, like, you know, let's gloss it over.
If I want to, you know, put on the film geek take hat, whatever.
Yeah.
I guess we could say that the fact that it is kind of like not this glossed up, gorgeous version is kind of reflective of like where all of the characters are. Like, again, they're all kind of like at the end of the ropes, kind of desperate for like something to change in their lives. They're kind of like, they feel like the dead end lifers in this place.
But I would argue that is like the city and any big mover and shaker in the late 80s, early 90s in Miami is on the same path as these people. I feel like the city as a whole at that point is kind of on that, you know, it doesn't know what it is. It's just gone through this terrible period, because that's one of the things I am going to do when we get into Scarface is explain a little context for those who don't understand. But, you know, where this movie is and what it does, I think it lends to that. Like you said, like it's just they're into the rope, you know, they don't know what they're kind of like, they're grasping at straws for certain things. Some of them still do have dreams. Some of them have schemes to get out of where they're at. And it's just, it's all possible in Florida, baby. But it's just about, you know, how you going to do it? What are you going to, what's your means to your ends, essentially?
Two more things I want to highlight before we move on. I mentioned how much Nicholson gets the shit beaten out of him. I think he is one of the best actors at playing hurt or pain. I think of like the stairs scene in The Shining when he gets hit in the head, and just like the kind of like guttural animal wails and stuff that come out of him in that movie. He kind of does, like when Judy Davis, like, did she hit him with a golf club or like a trophy of some kind?
Golf club.
He's selling it. The other thing, all of the like scuffles and like action scenes or fight scenes, I don't know about you, dude. I didn't see a lick of a stuntman.
No, I didn't either.
And there's stuff like when Michael Caine like throws Harold Perrineau up against a palm tree, where I was like, dude, did you fucking like crack his skull? Like, it looks like, dude, you like really manhandled like him. Like, that's either some great acting or this is one of those like, hey, I've been making movies since the 70s. Just fucking go for it. Like, just do whatever. We don't have the budget for a stuntman. But I'm like, it's fucking Michael Caine and Jack Nicholson. Like, these guys are getting up there. You gotta take care of them. But like when he's fighting with Dorf on the boat.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
There's no like, it's a lot of one-er takes for some of the like fight scene, if you will, where I'm like, no, they're actually doing all those moves. There's nowhere there's no cut or edit where they're subbing in anybody.
No.
And I was like, it's not like crazy impressive stunt work, but the simple fact that like they feel like scuffles in like a 70s movie where it feels like, you know, this is rough and loose and we didn't choreograph this and like anything could happen. It doesn't feel like, you know, super precise. Anyways, something I noticed, and yeah, I think Nicholson's really good at playing her. Is this pre-Selena? We didn't really talk about Lopez much at all.
I think this is after Selena, before Anaconda. She may have shot both, and like this maybe debuted after Selena.
She has a lot of credits, way more than I thought.
Yeah, no, you don't think about it. She's in a ton of stuff.
Okay, so let's look at her 90s. Okay, so she's still on In Living Color, like in the early 90s. Her first movie, like movie, I believe is Money Train.
Yes.
With Woody Harrelson, and is that Wesley Snipes?
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
I watched it a couple months ago.
she's in Jack the following year.
Yes.
The Coppola movie with Robin Williams. Follows it up with Blood and Wine. So she's on the rise. I would say she's solid in Jack. I haven't seen Money Train in forever, but definitely where she popped. And then she has right after this, where she arguably she holds her own with with Jack Nicholson. Not like the dynamic is not such that she's doing this incredible performance, and I've always thought she was a pretty solid actress, but I'm saying she doesn't feel out of her element here. I think she's solid. She's got Selena and Anaconda right around the corner, U-Turn with Oliver Stone, and then what I still think is the crowning achievement for her, 1998's Out of Sight. And then if we want to go one further after that, I really like The Cell. I think she's great in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is kind of a stepping stone for her. And again, I feel like she's about to pop anyways, and it's kind of, like I said, the same thing with Dorff. So it's like, this is not a misstep in either of their careers, and certainly doesn't hurt Nicholson, because he can pretty much do whatever he wants, and he's right around the corner from an Oscar nomination. So yeah, I feel like the only thing it really dings against is Rafelson doesn't get a chance to make as many more movies, because yeah. One of those greats who I just wish had, a little bit better back half. And it's, there's the whole burnout or fade away conversation to be had, but I don't think this is as bad as some other late period, formerly great directors. I think he's still doing a solid job, bringing enough of that 70s vibe into a very 90s movie at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything more to say.
Okay.
That was Blood and Wine from 1996.
Are you ready?
Check it out on HBO Max.
Yeah, it's
if
on
you want
HBO
to.
Max for who doesn't know how much longer.
Soft recommend.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lazy Sunday afternoon sort of movie. Or if you need a midweek thriller, throw it on a Wednesday evening as the sun's going down.
Yeah. Try
and manufacture some more Florida vibes than the movie actually has. But yeah, okay. I think we did enough time on it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is my first dud pick, man.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I would have to say probably
Could
so.
Always do worse. I don't think it's a total dud. I just thought you didn't have much to say.
It didn't thrill me.
Yeah.
But I think it's hard to when you push it to the limit, like we're about to do.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So.
By all means, yeah. Let's.
Why don't you just play that instead of the trailer?
This trailer's pretty great, though.
All right.
It's long though. And fuck no, I'm not gonna play that song.
Why not?
We already have 2 copyright strikes from the Universal Music Group.
That's right.
Who put this movie out, Gavin?
Oh yeah, no.
Fucking Universal. No, I'm not playing any. Not even any of the lovely Giorgio Moroder score, but maybe you'll hear some of it in this trailer. I don't even know what.
Can we even play the trailer then? You think they're going to kick it for that?
Dude, I'm playing the trailer. The trailer is in and of itself an advertisement for the film. If they got a problem with the trailer, if we get a copyright check because of this trailer, we'll lose it. Have we done any other Universal movies, though? I don't know.
I don't think so. We talk about Universal
But it's the
stuff.
music group who will own the soundtrack, and I don't think they're going to hit it if it's in a trailer with other stuff layered on top of it.
Okay.
I don't know how it works.
I don't even know if that's on the soundtrack, though. I think it's not. I think it's somebody else performing it on the soundtrack.
I don't know.
Fuck it, hit me.
All right, let's push the limit. Here's the fucking trailer.
Okay, so what do you call yourself? ¿Cómo se llama?
Antonio Montana. And you? What you call yourself?
Where'd you learn to speak the English, Tony?
In a school. And my father, he was from the United States. Yeah, just like you know. He was a Yankee. He used to take me a lot to the movies, you know. I learned. I watched the guys like Humphrey Bogart, James Cagney. They teach me to talk. I like those guys. I always know one day I'm coming here, United States.
1980, Miami. They called it Little Havana, where the American dream had a price tag, and only one man in a million was hungry enough to pay.
This country, you gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the woman.
Scarface. For one brief moment, the world was his.
A chick is with. She like me.
You must be kidding.
What you talking about? That's a Cadillac.
How do you know?
The eyes, Chico. They never lie.
Man, that's the boss's lady, okay?
I am the boss.
That guy's soft.
I like you, Tony. There is no lying in you.
Here's to the land of opportunity.
We do business together a long time.
I know the street, and I'm making all the right connections.
Remember I told you when you started, the guys who last in this business are the guys who fly straight.
With the right woman, there's no stopping me. I could go right to the top.
The word on the street, Tony, is you're not a small-time punk anymore. Supreme Court says that your privacy can be invaded.
You shoot the house this month?
You're spending a lot of money on this counter surveillance.
We're doing 10 million, 15 million a month. Come on. Now, that's serious money, you know? Your bank boys gotta come down a bit.
Who else can you trust? That's why you pay us what you do. You trust us. You're in good hands with us.
Al Pacino is Scarface. He loved the American dream with a vengeance. Al Pacino, Scarface.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever watched or listened to that trailer.
It kind of...
It does not... It makes it almost... It's that last little bit with the way that it's the Marauder score and it's Scarface. It makes it sound like it's like trying to be almost like a 80s slasher, like an 80s like horror film. Feels like. Al Pacino is Scarface. Like, come on. And, you know, if you're not...
He loved the American dream with a vengeance.
Right. Exactly. Tell me that's not... I don't know. Maybe that's just...
I feel like it's maybe just because you're hearing the audio. But
that could be it.
It definitely does not have... I feel like the trailers you see now are more of the, like, rise and fall, power, like, way more, like, dreamy feeling editing to the trailers and stuff. I've seen some, like, modern recuts, but I wanted to go with the old school one. Scarface, 1983. Is this the first remake we've ever done?
Yeah, maybe.
I think so. On a 2x2.
Yes.
I mean, we've talked remakes when it comes to horror, but
yeah, this is the first remake.
This might be the first remake in a 2x2.
Do we want to call it a remake, or do we want to just call it an homage, a loose affiliation with?
I do want to call it a remake.
Okay.
Because
or do you want
this is a candidate for, what's that?
You want to call it the 80s version? I mean...
No, I mean, this is Scarface. For all intents and purposes, this is what everybody knows is Scarface, of course.
Right.
But I just want to highlight the fact because this is what I want remakes to be.
Right.
When they do them, which is take, like, something that worked in the original, like a nugget, a kernel.
Right.
And then do your own fucking movie with it.
Yeah,
please,
okay, that makes sense.
By all means. So, yeah, that's why I wanted to highlight, yeah, it is a remake. And by that standard, I would say one of, like, the 5 best remakes ever in the history of cinema.
Yeah.
I was so glad when you picked it, / I picked it, whatever. I have been itching to revisit it. It's been about 2.5 years since I've seen it the last time. And as soon as I watched it, it was one of those where I was like, what? Why don't you do this like once every 6 months? Why don't you treat this like Heat or anything else you love that is a 2 hour and 50-minute movie that you said you wanted to talk about the length. I felt like this went by in a shot, dude.
Of course.
There's not a single scene I was like, oh, they could have trimmed that.
No.
Yeah, that should have been edited differently. And it's like...
I give you one. I give you one.
I was going to say, this, to me, this movie, it's a masterpiece. Say that from the top. I do have one issue with it, which is also like so charming at the same time that I kind of love it, even though I think it's a terrible choice. Go ahead.
I'm just going to tell you one scene I would trim.
What's that?
The hit scene.
Which one?
On him. The first one. The first time. Casper Gomez and the fucking Diaz brothers. No, I'm just kidding. When Belzer comes out, he introduces the clown thing or whatever.
The Babylon Club scene.
The Babylon Club. That just...
So you're going off the assumption... We got to get into this already.
If I had to trim anything, I would. It's just too much.
No. You're saying you do think that was Casper Gomez and or the Diaz brothers?
I don't know who they were.
You don't think it was Frank?
No. Oh, the two. To me, the Diaz brothers were the two there that were going to gun him down. He just didn't know who they were. No, I don't. I'm of the belief that like it wasn't Frank. I don't think it was Frank at all. I think it was just an opportunist moment that, because you got to think.
We'll
we can get into this.
And we do not need to go chronologically or however you want to approach this.
I do. I want to approach this with 3 specific things that I want to focus on that happened in this movie that I went back to with a different lens this time. Number one thing I want to talk about, I will talk about how they interpreted the zeitgeist of what is happening in that town at this time and got it on screen in what I consider to be a flawless interpretation. Again, I know that this doesn't look like, not all of Miami and what you see was probably like note perfect at the time. This is just a little bit removed from when all this happened, but we're definitely in the height of the cocaine wars when this is made. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I think it brilliantly does is it incorporates a true event, which was a catalyst for all of this, but something that had been going on for a while. It's noted that very 78, 79 is the rumblings of everybody in Colombia and the shifting of power. 79, you have Dadeland. Are you familiar with Dadeland, Noah?
No.
79 is the Dadeland mall shooting. It's essentially these 2 guys were in a party supply truck. They roll up on this liquor store. They hop out. They're armed to the teeth. They blow away these 2 Colombian guys. They injure 2 of the store clerks. They bail. They find the truck couple miles away. Truck's got body armor. It's got reinforced, bulletproof, tons of weapons. And this is when one of the police officers said, "Oh, these cocaine cowboys," and that's when it's what took off when the Sun Herald reports all this. Okay. So you have that happen in 79. And the trailer mentioned this, and it makes a big deal in the opening before you get any other thing. The setup of like Castro's like, okay, you can fine. You want to go. I don't care. I'm getting rid of. Hey, these people want to come to America. I'm sending them to America, and it's estimated, like they say, about of the hundred thousands who showed up, about 25,000 of them were like criminals. They had some kind of a record for whatever reason. But by making it a story about a Cuban immigrant, you subvert any kind of potential backlash, I feel like, from anybody at the time who is still operating to want to give you any shit about it. Because Pablo Escobar is still king at the time. And Griselda Blanco is still making moves as well. And they're Colombians. Okay? By not making this character Colombian, even though he does kill Colombians, it allows you to function and show you, again, that immigrant story, rise to fall, same as the original Scarface from 32, but just in a brand new light in a completely updated, modern setting.
Well, okay, it spares them from any ramifications from the drug community, you're saying, but also by making him Cuban, it does create a ton of protests in Miami, so much so that they don't shoot hardly any of this movie in Miami. Because there was a backlash to this was in the era of, like, I guess nowadays all this shit just gets hashed out on the internet and gets litigated, like, when certain movies get announced and stuff, or, like, certain casting decisions. But this is still of the era, I feel like, where it was like, oh, this movie's dangerous. This could cause like riots in the streets or something.
Yeah.
Like, but most of the backlash was Cuban immigrants upset about like, you're just depicting us as, you know, drug dealers and thieves and criminals, etc. And
which
I'm
is why I
like,
think that line when he gets busted is like, you call yourself a Cuban.
Well, I was going to say, that's one of those cases where you're like, well, I wish I could show you like some scenes of this before we actually shoot them, or show you some of the screenplay, because like the scene with Tony's mom, when first of all they reveal that like, oh yeah, he was like, everything he said in that interrogation,
bullshit,
100% bullshit.
Yeah,
his parents are.
I told you to tell him you're in a sanitarium.
He's also got a sister. Yeah.
Told him I was in sanitation. I told you to tell him you was in a sanitarium.
We also got to talk Stephen Bauer, right?
Oh, dude.
Where he ranks on the all-time list of best friends. Tony, not a good friend to
Not at
Manny,
all.
but
Manny.
the other way around, Manny, shoot this piece of shit, dude.
No,
without hesitation,
Manolo,
just
shoot this piece of shit.
Yes, Manolo.
I love that he
shoot this piece of shit. Yeah, you definitely always need a guy in your back pocket who's like so loyal to you that you can, at the drop of a hat, be like, hey, this guy. And then there's no hesitation whatsoever.
But, okay, real quick though. My favorite is, hey, what about Ernie? Ernie, you want a job?
Oh, dude.
Hey, man, you got a job. Like,
we'll
okay,
get,
yeah.
We'll get
the bits, dude. Okay.
So good.
Yeah, so again, you have that going on.
We can kind of go set piece by set piece if you want to. Just kind of geek out over them.
Well, I mean,
if you want to. But, sorry. We got lost in the changing it to Cuban immigrant.
Right.
Yes, it did create a backlash at the time.
It created a backlash
but
with that,
feel
but like
when
I
you
would
get to the scene with the mom, it's that counter narrative of like, hey, let's be real here. Like she
knows who he is,
and the movie is aware that like this is not a good guy.
Right.
Like I feel like people still had such an issue even after coming through an entire decade of anti-heroes, and like some of them played by Al Pacino in movies like The Godfather. But I feel like Godfather had such a like air of class and prestige around it, where it was like, and people have talked about this tons, it's like it was still so romanticized at the time that it's like it's not really until you get to Goodfellas in the 90s when it's like, oh, this is a realistic depiction of like who these guys actually are, which are all pretty terrible, like dark human beings. So,
but that just lends itself to like you're talking about something in Goodfellas, you're talking about something that happened in the time of The Godfather, romanticizing it.
Exactly.
So I feel like that lends itself to it. If you don't have anything counter to it, you can't really say like how good or bad the romanticism is. But
Sopranos
this movie
come in on the tail end and completely deconstruct.
But this,
everything.
If anybody wants to argue that this movie romanticizes anything about the Cuban experience or like the rise and fall of an immigrant, I don't think you can argue that this tries to romanticize any of it, unless you want to be that guy.
So much so to the point that like the rise to power is done in a montage.
Yes.
Arguably the greatest montage in film history outside of a Rocky training montage.
Right.
Because those are in a class of their own. But the Push It to the Limit montage is incredible. And it communicates a lot very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But then what I love is we come out on the other side of it and presumably like the world is his at this point.
Right.
And it's just all shit for the rest of the movie.
Right.
Like it's all the realities of like, okay, yeah, but now like because you're making this much money, like you got to be paying this guy and this guy for protection and like all of that shit. And there's never a scene. There is truly not a single scene in this entire movie where you ever see him enjoying any of the fruits of his labors. Even in the scene where he is chilling in his giant fucking jacuzzi in this vast carpeted bathroom watching TV, he is alone and talking to himself because the two people in his life closest to him, he's completely alienated at this point, so much that they're just both like, fuck this guy, and bail out of the house. And it's like, there is never I don't know. A movie I thought about a lot when I'm watching this, not oddly, I feel like they're twins in some ways. It's fucking Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Which at the time people said like, oh, it revels so much in this behavior, it like makes it look sexy and like fun. And I'm like, for some people, I'm sure, yeah, okay. But those are the people I feel like who are like completely misinterpreting like what the point of showing all of this excess is.
Right.
But like that movie still objectively has like fun scenes in it, comedic scenes centered around like crazy drug abuse, etc., that seem entertaining or fun in the moment, but then they're contextualized as being like pretty fucked up and dark. Scarface doesn't even have that. It doesn't even have like this moment of like exultation or like he's just, he's really living it up right now. Even in that montage, it's like, well, there's money rolling in and like getting married, but like they don't even fucking kiss. The whole movie is like main object of affection. Probably because he'd rather be.
They only kiss they only kiss when they get married. That's it.
They don't. You don't see it on screen.
Yeah, you do. Their faces touch. You don't. Yeah, you don't see their
lips. The veil is blocking it.
Yeah,
dude. I'm
you
just
can't.
saying,
You can argue, right?
You never see like a true moment of intimacy between the two of them. Their entire relationship, it's all like circumstantial, essentially. Right. I would love a prequel for how the hell Elvira ended up with Frank, though. I would love to know a little more about that, even in this 2-hour and 50-minute movie. Still wanted some more detail.
See,
anyways, but yeah,
maybe it's
I
like
feel like there's never. I feel like at the same time though, yes, some people still watch this and like think it's like, oh, dude.
Some people there's an entire subculture of people who watch this and they're like, it's a blueprint to success.
Absolutely. The one thing I think has been a takeaway, a huge takeaway, is the approach to life of the character. Sometimes that's the vibe that people take from it, like the dude in Big Lebowski, for instance, or something. There's some people who are just like, I want to model that. There's a moment early on in the interrogation, right when things kind of escalate, first big scene of the movie, where he just flat out says, he's like, there's nothing you guys can do to me. You throw me in a detention center for like however many months, whatever. There's nothing you guys can do to me that Castro hasn't already done to me. Mm-hmm. And he's like flipping out and screaming and everything. And you get very early on that like this guy has like a pure and simple determination to reach his fucking goal, which is just power. Right. Period. Like that's it. And honestly, the romance angle to it, the having a wife or possibly the possibility of a family, it just seems like an arbitrary afterthought of like, okay, well, this is just something I need to have in the equation. But like, it doesn't seem like there is a true like motivating factor beyond just the power.
Right.
But the way he approaches everything with this like true devil may care energy, where he can be in that standoff, in that shower, with that chainsaw, and still, or excuse me, before he gets put into that scenario, but he knows he's completely fucked, to still be able to say to the guy in the moment, why don't you try and put your head up your ass? Like,
see if it fits.
See if it fits. Yeah. The balls to just be, and to do that and feel it convincingly, where he's literally like, he does not, like, if he dies in this moment, he's good. You know what I'm saying? Like, he truly does not give a fuck. And that is what, allows him to ascend to the level he does, but the complete abandonment of any kind of, like, soul leads to the ultimate downfall, even though the thing that really brings down the house of cards is him having a soul.
One redeeming, yeah.
It's a great screenplay. It's great writing. It's a great character study done on a massive, splashy scale. And one of the weirdest things to me at the end of that trailer, it doesn't, like, the fact that it's a Brian De Palma film is not a thing at this point. Mm-hmm. Like, that would be, Pacino, one of the biggest movie stars in the world at that point. And I want to talk to you about this. Do you remember, I feel like before I ever saw this, before I even probably had the, say hello to my little friend, the memeable moments, if you will, that you pick up pop culturally through references or whatever. Mm-hmm. I feel like the first time I ever heard about Scarface was from Mom. Yes. And it was in relation to the Pacino performance.
Yes.
And how she had never seen, seen somebody commit that fully
to the accent, and to the character,
and all of that. And so it had this reputation before I ever even actually laid eyes on it, which was probably years later, of just like, oh, this is like a crowning achievement, a great performance, etc., like a huge hit. And I guess I didn't realize that, like, it was, it was a little controversial at the time. It did have some of its detractors, and it's like it was a huge hit that still feels like it formed this own, like you said, subculture and like separate cult movie status around it, even years and years on. But I feel like its reputation has kind of faded from memory. Do you feel that way? I don't know how much you follow like modern, I don't know, online film discourse or like different movie websites or what they're focusing on or like choosing to shout out, but I'm like, I don't know if it's we burned through the 80s nostalgia wave. A lot of people seem to have felt that way.
Yeah.
That we're kind of cresting over and we're firmly into the 90s nostalgia era now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's partially that, but I don't feel like I hear it talked about that much these days or like really highlighted. In the same way that I also feel like De Palma, even though he had a great doc about him like a couple years ago, is one of those guys in our eyes, kind of like a Friedkin, who, because maybe the filmography has more peaks and valleys, does not get the same kind of love as some of their contemporaries.
I feel like the reason why it tapered off is directly tied into the trend in movies to get quicker with everything, and therefore run times are shorter, and I would even argue that shot times are significantly lower nowadays than they are. When we did the few things with Michael Bay, I did note, because of IMDb trivia, average shot length and average, whatever. I feel like that may lend itself as to why people don't talk about it, because it's not an instant gratification. We don't meet the character on top of the world. If you did this today and you showed him on top of the world, like, we don't know that what happens to any other character, but we see him, he's face down in a thing of coke, and we see a bunch of people coming in to rush his place, and we stop.
And it's 100% how they would do it.
And we cut back
and
to...
I personally think that would be a terrible decision.
It would be. And you and I know this because we're from a different time period, and we grew up on this, how it is. But that's what you're going to have to do to pull people in. I don't think people have the time to sit with it, because I did say earlier...
You just nailed it, though. I'm like, that is literally how, if they ever remade Scarface, the Pacino version, that is 100% how it would start.
Yeah.
With just a mountain of cocaine and, like, the dude snorting, and it's like... The reason that moment is so wild and like iconic is the whole movie has built to this level of excess, and just like he's been gone for a while now.
Right.
Like at the point when he does that, contextually, he's murdered his best friend.
Yes. Widowed his sister. His wife has left him. He has fucked over the one person who told him, "Don't you ever fuck me, Tony.
Don't you ever try to fuck me."
Yeah.
Dude.
And again, it's all because of the one act of him having some redeeming quality in there that makes him like make a choice. And
which again, we can totally jump to that scene. He is tasked with Sosa, the Bolivian, the guy who's making it all happen on the drug side of things. The Connect, the guy who told him, "Don't you ever try to fuck me."
Yeah.
His henchman, is his name Shadow in the movie? What is his name?
I don't know what his name is. The guy that murders him is the Skull. You know who he is?
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Skull yet.
Do you know who the Skull is, though?
Who is the Skull?
A Man Apart. The big bag Mexican in A Man Apart. Same guy.
The bad guy in?
Yeah.
The main bad
The one
guy
that's in
Man
prison
Apart.
in Man Apart? Yeah. Same actor. Wild, right? Never had it. Because when we were watching it, and the thing I noticed this time is when they're in Bolivia, I'm looking at the Skull the entire time, like, what's he doing? He's just standing back there with shades on, just like, he controls everything. And I looked at Becky and I was like, I'm not going to spoil anything if I tell you this, but that guy back there with the sunglasses on, that's the baddest motherfucker in this entire movie.
I don't even know if I now I want to rewatch it again just because you said that. Yeah. Yes, excuse me. Mark Margolis is Shadow, the one who's dressed in kind of like a white, almost like Oriental garb.
He looks like a James Bond villain. He looks like Dr. No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mark Margolis. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The chair.
Yeah. Boom. Yeah. Face Off. I know. I know him, and he's been in other things too.
Isn't he Ventura?
Yes, Satan.
Isn't he?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Mark Margolis. Great. Classic. Great everything.
Mr. Shika Dance, I told you, once I find this white albino pigeon, you're paid. Ace Ventura was going to be the other Miami movie that I was going to do, but I held off.
We should have done Ace Ventura and Scarface. Two iconic Miami gentlemen. Yes. Two Florida men.
Yeah.
Two Florida men if there ever were ones.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, the scene with Mark Margolis, Shadow, they're in New York. They're supposed to assassinate because Sosa's getting pressured from this guy who's been talking. He's a rat and he's public and he's highlighting everything that's going on in the drug trade, etc. So they're going to car bomb him. His kid's in the car. And Tony's not having it, dude. He's super upset.
I don't need that shit in my life.
And I'm just like, but never mind. The countless lives, just because you can't see them and they're not in front of you, never mind the countless lives that have been lost or ruined forever because of all of your drug trade and the excessive violence associated with it, all the shit you're pumping into Miami. Never mind any of that.
Well, you know what's wild?
These two.
But what's wild is before this scene, he has literally only killed 5 people. That's it. He kills Rabanga. He kills the 2 guys that come after him in the club. He kills
there's
Mel,
the whole chainsaw situation.
Mel, and then the guy that he guns down the street. He's only killed 5 people in person up until this point.
On camera.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, residual fallout from his drug trade, yes,
I was going to say, but we assume he's probably killed a lot of people down in Cuba. I would imagine.
Yeah, in the army, maybe. Yeah, I could see that.
He definitely knows how to handle as well. Yes, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I know we want to somehow find the heart of gold inside this cocaine demon.
No, there is nothing. There is no redemption.
But the irony that but he does it throughout the movie where it's just you tell him not to do something or you tell him you have to do something this way. He just no. He makes his own rules. He makes his own way. You're not gonna fuck with him. And it's it's nice that in this scenario, yes, it's a principled thing, and presumably you saved this wife and daughter, but you did you fucked up a good thing. You and Sosa were all right.
Yeah,
you were doing okay.
Yeah, because
but also, why did you have to go and personally clean up the mess?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
why's he got to be there?
The trade-off is he has to do that to show them that he is worth them getting involved with our government to not prosecute him for tax stuff.
That's right, because he needs the help.
Right.
Again, because all the hammers start coming down. Again, he has
you think about it. I didn't realize this time watching it.
But yeah.
I did not realize this till this time. Question. This is pure conjecture. Manny is the one who was going to set that deal up with Bernstein, whatever the guy's name is. So was Manny going to get popped, or did Manny set Tony up? Big conjecture. That was his deal. That was Manny's deal that he brought to him to use this new Jewish guy. And Tony went in person to do the money. He said, "You don't worry about this shit. I'll take care of it. I'll handle it." Went to the new guy. He been popped. That's when the money problem starts. So question. Just was it Frank that tried to have him killed, or was it Casper Gomez and the fucking Diaz brothers? I just love the way, fuck Casper Gomez and fuck the fucking Diaz brothers. I bury those cockroaches. I love the intensity there. Yeah. Also, I do want to point out, I love the fact that Michelle Pfeiffer's can you just stop saying fuck all the time? Because up until I believe maybe, I don't know, mid-90s, this had the most F-bombs in a movie ever.
Yeah, I think Goodfellas takes it up a notch. Pulp Fiction takes it up a notch. And then I want to say Casino.
Yeah. But, so, where the hell was I going with this? What was I talking about before I stopped to talk about the F-bombs?
I don't know.
Right, no, did Manny have him set up? Or was Manny going to get, caught up in everything? Mm-hmm. Because it's him having to have that control and handle everything, because the scene when he tells him don't bother is, the ending line is, who did this shit? Who put this shit together? Me. He has to control that. Mm-hmm. And so that's why he decides to go firsthand and gets caught on tape with all that illegal cash. So it's another one. Again, we can get, if you want to get back to any kind of semblance, essentially he comes from Cuba. he comes from Cuba. He gets in with a he does a hit for somebody.
They put him in Freedom Town initially to get out of there.
He does a hit.
Manolo arranges, hey, we take this guy out. Guy's got a grudge from the old country, essentially. Take him out. Boom, we're out of here. They arrange the hit. This is kind of the first big set piece, like you said, in the midst of a pretty convincingly staged riot.
Which actually happened.
Yeah. Pretty decent recreation. Nothing feels as raw as Sorcerer, dude. I just feel like that shit's just like a documentary. It's just happening. But but as a grand, like, I just love the fucking way De Palma just does, like,
the crane work in this dude, it's just so good.
Yeah, just impeccable shit.
But essentially, he gets out of Freedom Town. He's stuck being a basic dishwasher, which literally any other Cuban on the planet would be happy to be washing dishes in Little Havana, away from Castro. But Tony Montana is not satisfied whatsoever. Okay, so they get him a job. He can go unload a marijuana boat. He don't want to take $500 because the going rate's $1,000. So what do they say? Which everybody should know it if you've watched it. They say, give him to the Colombians. Give him to them. Not send him in to do this. Give him to the Colombians. Okay, hot shot, here you go. Just was like, you know anything about cocaine? You fucking kidding me? Like, I just like, yes. But
yes, this is our introduction to Omar, the great Omar. F. Murray Abraham.
Who, if you read your trivia, I think you probably have, like, got the part of Salieri
while he was on set,
and everybody started
treating him better.
Yeah. But so, and from there, he's tasked to go check out these Colombians. If they got stuff, if the stuff's good, buy it, bring it back to us. And that
one of the most intense set pieces in any movie ever. It sets the tone, and I'm checking. In my head, I'm just like kind of checking the runtime every little bit because I watched it on Netflix as well.
Right.
And I was amazed. I was like, I think we're less than. I was like, that scene is like 20 minutes in. Like, a lot happens or whatever to get you to that first, like, and again, the initial murder is a bit of a set piece, the build up to it and everything. But then you're almost immediately right back into another set piece.
Mm-hmm.
And the back and forth between, like, what's going on in the actual hotel room, them waiting outside in the car where it's like, hey, 15 minutes, come up.
Did you read about the woman?
Yes, we don't have to go into all of that.
Wow, shit, dude.
Check out the IMDb trivia.
Seriously.
But yes, the woman who appears in that scene briefly went missing. It's still unsolved, if I'm not mistaken.
They think the vampire rapist guy got her. I think he may have even admitted that he did, but they think the best they can that he was one of her victims. She was one of his victims.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, and the idea, and see, I think, and this is another thing that, because this scene I want to talk about, I think that the thing I like about the screenplay, and maybe it's just object permanence and I'm able to attach it to something that I know happened, but to me, this scene, while it sets the tone and shows you just the kind of guy Tony Montana is, to me, it closely mirrors like what I just talked about with Dadeland. Is like, they knew that people were getting hit, people were getting murdered, but Dadeland Mall in 1979 is the first time anybody realized if they got to go get somebody, they're going to hit somebody, they're going to kill them, they're not stopping. They don't care about the fact that it's broad daylight and there's people and children, 10 feet on each side. It's a miracle only 2 people died and that the store clerks were not hurt, which would lead you to believe that maybe those guys were like Tony Montana. They were only gunning for people. They didn't want anybody else to get hit. But it also tells you they're coked out maniacs, and they had to go hit somebody. They punched their ticket. They're gone. And I feel like his deliberate, like, I'm so badass. I don't give a fuck. If I die here, I die here. But, oh, my boys got my back. And I get to come out and murder you in the fucking street where everyone can see you. That, to me, is like it's a Dadeland type incident.
Even after the, like, brutality of that scene and how it's escalated, and, like, there's shots going off everywhere. People are dying left and right. People are flopping out of what dude when he the dude takes the chainsaw through the glass and then tumbles out, and you're like, this dude's still moving. Like, all of that.
How did he not land on his own chainsaw?
Exactly. Super well edited. But still, when they get out on that street and he has him dead to rights right there, you're still not expecting for him to shoot him point blank in the head in front of all of those people. So much so that, like, when it goes double close in to, like, show that to you, you're like, oh shit. Like, this just escalated even further.
Right. And that, to me, mirrors, like, the subject matter perfectly.
Yes.
Okay? And I will say, though, when you asked me if I was still good to go, I did tell you one of my favorite lines from the movie that apparently was ad-lib, Chichi get the yayo. That I feel like has had so much of an impact on its own with people, because there's, like, the song Rush Rush to the Yayo. There's been all these different hip-hop artists who've incorporated the word yayo, cocaine, into, like, their lexicon and, like, built their image around it, which is amazing. But it's just apparently just like a quick ad-lib line that he learned, because he learned, like, that was a slang term for cocaine.
Yeah.
And, you know, we did talk about earlier about, you know, the money laundering. That's what he got caught for. They don't really actually, I think this would kind of blend into, you know, after this, he kind of does have a little rise to power. He starts dealing with Sosa, and obviously his guy Frank isn't necessarily happy about that.
Yeah,
But this is
we
another one of the.
Talk about Robert Loggia for
we
just
can talk
a
about
minute.
We can talk about Loggia, but I just want to make this other point, because it's one of my two of the three I wanted to make. When he basically puts Bernstein on him, puts Mel on him, and he's like, "You remember Emilio Rabanga? I'm here to shake you down."
Harris Yulin? Can we talk about Harris Yulin?
Yes, we can.
Let's go, Larry Brothers.
Friend of a murder. Gave them the chair. Yeah. But when they do that,
and wasn't he fucking Gene Hackman's wife in Night Moves?
That
Harris Yulin?
I think so. Was it him?
Is that Harris Yulin?
Yeah, that's what you go. Yeah.
But yeah.
Because I'm thinking most people are like, is that Rip Torn? Like, they might.
Probably.
Your average viewer's like, is that the guy from Men in Black?
Rip Torn? It works great with the single syllable. Dean Cain?
But anyway, putting the detective on him, and obviously he's on the take, that is another true to life thing, because on top at this time when this movie comes out, the massive police corruption starts to come up in Miami, that there were a lot of cops who were on the take from multiple narcos.
I just love that scene, dude. He's like, so how do I know you're the last cop I'm going to have to bribe? Like, you know, I have this department and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I can't tell you all that, but
you don't.
This is what I cost, essentially.
This is what I cost, yeah.
And you're just like, dude, yeah, this is just one dude. Like, yeah, how many individuals do you have to pay off to keep them off your back? Like, every cop that shows up, you got to pay him out. Like,
right. But yeah, let's talk about Robert Loggia.
Dude, okay, yes, Frank. Never underestimate the other guy's screams. Incredible deliveries throughout the movie. Again, I need the prequel short film of how the hell. I guess it's very simple. She likes cocaine. I think that's about as far as it goes.
Now, hang on. Like, is Frank Jewish? Is that the whole bit?
Frank Lopez?
Because he talks about the old country. Whenever I hear old country, I think of, like, Jewish. And they were tracking the guy down in Cuba.
Old country, I think of Italy.
Maybe.
But I didn't take him at...
I don't know what to take him as. Italian, Cuban, what is it?
They're all Italians for the most part, except for Stephen Bauer, the only Cuban in the entire cast.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, ethnicity is malleable in this movie, I guess. For Lopez, though, I don't know. I assumed he was like Loja's playing like Colombian, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But anyways, he's with Elvira, and Tony just kind of immediately latches onto her because, I mean, it's Michelle Pfeiffer. Like, you get it instantly. You don't.
Yeah.
And it's one of the meaner things in the trivia I discovered. But Al Pacino, actor's actor, was like, I want Glenn Close. She's incredible. She's like one of the best actresses on the planet right now. And they're like, she's not sexy enough. And I'm like, dude, she's about to make Fatal Attraction in like, what, 4 years?
Yeah.
4 or 5 years? Like,
yeah.
Are you sure?
Imagine how much
you sure you don't want to
hotter
cash
she
that
was,
check? You sure you don't want to cash that check right now?
Yeah.
Like, anyways, but I think Michelle Pfeiffer's pretty perfect casting, and obviously this is where she pops early on. And then she's got Married to the Mob later in the 80s, right? And then she's full on movie star at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, I mean, her attitude, I feel like there are probably women that have based their entire like personality on this character, just like, I will put up with some shit, but I guarantee you I will complain about it the entire time. I will let you know exactly how I'm feeling. I am not scared of any of your macho bullshit. I will tell you fuck you to your face. But yeah, dude, and the last scene we get with her is the dinner scene, right?
Yeah, she's gone.
The say goodnight to the bad guy scene.
Yeah.
So mean, dude. And it's the one time where you like genuinely feel for her, because up until that point I'm like, yeah, she just kind of seems like she's going with the flow. She's a little bit of an opportunist. She likes drugs, doesn't really seem to have much more motivation in life, whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like she's kind of Elvira's kind of the prototype for the Sharon Stone character in Casino.
Yeah.
That then gets a lot more depth and a little bit more agency to her. But Michelle Pfeiffer's still a total badass in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless. And I do love that she makes her own exit from the movie, and it's not some, like, he doesn't murder her, or, like, she's not caught in the crossfire or anything. I kind of like that she just kind of walks out of the movie. Especially after he, like, her womb is so barren, like, all of that shit. And it's the first time you see her crack where she's genuinely just like, what the fuck, man?
Right.
Like, I've put up with so much shit.
Right.
But, like, fuck you. I'm done.
Well,
I'm
my whole thing
done.
is, like, again, thinking as the modern film goer brain, that is, you should never do it. Don't ever fucking do it. No one ever do it. Don't make a sequel. Don't make a remake. But if you have to, that exit from that film is the one thing that saves you to be able to tell another story, which is, he says, oh yeah, her womb, this is barren. But like that night, she could have been like, oh, by the way, I'm pregnant. Didn't see that coming, did you, fuckface? But that insult and him reading her like that in front of everybody in that fucking restaurant is enough for her to be like, oh, now I get it. He is really, don't you see what we've become? Like, maybe
I would totally watch an Elvira becomes the new modern Griselda Blanco, and like her son is essentially dude from Too Old to Die Young that is like taking over the entire drug trade in that show.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
I've seen perfect. But
we can finally get Michelle Pfeiffer another Oscar. Can we get her one?
But I'm saying, like, in this one, instead of her becoming a thing, the whole crux of it is like she's raising her son, and he is slowly getting like the vibes of realizing like who his dad was to Miami in the day, and her having to be like, he was not a good person. You do not need to do this.
Does he have a weird Oedipal complex because his mom is Michelle Pfeiffer?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, can we talk about Tony
and Gina? Yeah. Super fucking weird.
As I said, this movie's a masterpiece for me. The one choice that every single time I watch it makes me laugh out loud every time they do it. But whenever he's just like, I need to let you know that Tony is in love with his sister and cannot stand to see her with any other men. And they do the like straight up horror movie in on Tony's eyes. The Marauder score is just like going off the charts, and I'm like, I love it, but it is so the cheese. Like, it's so hard not to just be like, really? Like, you didn't trust Al's
I got
to
it.
sell it. You really needed a full on. Here's a close up musical sting.
Music stab.
It's so pronounced, and they do it like 3 or 4 times. It's hilarious every time. It's part of, again.
It's there when he murders Manolo.
It's the one thing that I'm like, this is ridiculous, but it's so like it's charming in an odd way at the same time. I'm like, this is the De Palma touch, dude. You don't need it. It's a little excessive, but like I kind of love it.
See, when I first watched it, I took that as like, oh, that's the cocaine taking over now.
Sure,
like that's what it is.
The cocaine rage, but like it's never connected to that. It's always just around his sister. It's only in things involving Gina. Like he never has,
with the exception of the first time where Manolo says something and he flips out. After that, that's the only time where
related to Gina.
It is right. That's the only time where he is not coked out of his mind.
True.
Every other time afterwards, he's done coke relatively close to whenever this happens. So. Other than that, I could be like, that's the one thing that like it like doesn't matter. Like Gina, grounded. Oh no, you know. So, yeah.
So, he goes down to Bolivia, hooks up with Sosa. While they're down there, we got to get rid of old F. Murray Abraham because we find out he's a rat. Supposedly, again, another thing that's ambiguous because Frank even points out to him when he comes back. You taking Sosa's word for it? Like,
right.
Well, how do you know he's not just manipulating you, blah, blah, blah? And what you realize ultimately is, like, Tony may not be that smart, but he has, like, again, such sheer force of will that it's like, well, if this guy is fucking me over, I'll just kill him too. So it's no big deal.
Right.
Even though he runs the entire Bolivian drug pipeline that, like, supports me here.
Right.
But, like, you get the feeling that, like, if it came to it, yeah, he would just ice him. But, of course, he's not realized when Sosa's like, I will bring a war to your doorstep. He literally means like, I have an army of essentially.
I have a fucking hit squad.
Yeah, just thugs who will literally die in droves just to get to you. Like it's no big deal. Trust me.
I don't know the name. See, I don't know the name in that culture. I don't know if they call them sicarios as well, but like, it's essentially what they are. You know, obviously, and I feel like that term is kind of maybe thrown in with like Mexican mafia and like Mexican hitman, that drug lord pipeline thing. But yeah, basically Sosa's got hitters and he will fucking hit you anytime, anywhere. Because that's another thing when watching this again and watching like, hey, I'm going to be back in Miami in about 5 hours. Okay. So it's 5 hours after they didn't do what they're supposed to do. At that point, he's called and been like, you fucked up. Okay. It's been 5 hours. I haven't heard anything. And shortly after that is, so we're talking less than 12 hours. This guy's got that many people
just right
on shore, like ready to fucking murder. Like, you don't fuck with Sosa, bro. Like, you just don't. Dude, that's what I want. Was it Alejandro Sosa? Is that his name?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I want.
He's one of those guys where I'm like, considering some of the other like character actors we have at play here, you almost expect Sosa to be somebody else, like a bigger name,
but he's so reserved until that last little bit.
Fantastic in it, and I'm like, yeah, he's one of the like the finds. But like, it would, even if you just like shift it around, I feel like everybody's like perfectly cast, but you could also at the same time like you could rotate around Harris Yulin, Mark Margolis, and Robert Loggia, like just flip all of those roles if you wanted to, and this is still like a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like everybody is doing top-notch work. There's not like a weak performance in the bunch.
Of course.
Okay, one last set piece, I guess, before we get into kind of like the final third or the thrust. But the Babylon Club.
Yes.
Which you said you think it should be trimmed a little bit. I think this is the quintessential. It's dead in the middle of the movie, and I love how long this is. So much so that I forgot this all happened in one sequence.
Right, he gets Gina out of there.
He goes in. still trying to sweet talk Elvira.
Right.
He's like openly flirting with her in front of Frank's face and just being openly disrespectful, basically. And that escalates, strikes out there, essentially. Frank's talking shit to him. He also, that's the first time that Harris Yulin comes in.
Mm-hmm.
He finds out, okay, I'm going to have to start paying shit, blah, blah, blah. Sees Gina with some guy who's got his hand on her ass, and he, like, loses his mind. Goes and follows her in the bathroom. That whole, like, fighting scene. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember all of this stuff, but I was like, but I forgot that it's the same evening. And then we just we cut to him kind of defeated, burnt out, sitting in a booth all by himself, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, this is the scene. Fucking Richard Belzer, he's doing some comedy, and we see the guys in the crowd, and I love a De Palma, like, Hitchcock adjacent sequence where he's just like, here's these dudes, here's their Uzis, here's a slow music sting, and then
they put them up, and then they put them down, and then they put them up.
Yeah, we're cutting back and forth. There's all of a sudden we have this clown guy performer come out and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And just all of that totally works for me. But again, the fact that it all descends into like this is late in the evening when this goes down, and then it's followed by, okay, Frank tried to fuck me over, or so I'm convinced, so I'm paranoid at this point, and they show up and have the best wallpaper.
Oh my god, dude!
In the history of movies.
Yes,
I want that backdrop. If we ever like have a full-on separate studio space that we like own,
we will all do it in burnt orange, amber.
It will be
neon,
a door
like
that we walk through that is just like built into the wall, and it will be the Scarface background. Candidate for like, this might be my favorite scene of the whole movie, dude. When he rolls in to like have it out with Frank, basically to fully ascend to power. Mm-hmm. This is the scene right before he does go and wake up Elvira and basically be like, hey, you can come live with me now because I murdered your other boyfriend, keeper, husband, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, this whole sequence of them rolling in there, like you said, he makes...
Because it's him and Bernstein. They come back to the car dealership by themselves. Because he goes in and says, hey, you need to call in and say, we fucked up. He's still alive. Mm-hmm. Do that then. And he's already in there waiting on him. And they come back in like they're about to celebrate the fact that, like, okay, we got rid of that little prick. Like, we get back to business as usual.
They're in the same room together is like confirmation of like, okay, he definitely sent him. Like, Frank was the guy who put this cop on to me.
Right.
This was orchestrated.
But see, that's the thing. Because they're in the same room, I buy that angle, and that is perfectly fine. I don't buy that Frank went so far as to have him killed, because he's always said the guys who like fly straight and go under the radar, that's what it does. So if he does reach out to have him killed, and it's not by anybody in his own organization, he then owes a favor to someone who's a competitor in his business. Why would he want to do that and risk them having something over him? Right. So that's what I
agree. I don't think he...
Because the thing is, they're all there at that club that night as well. All of them. Okay? And yeah, okay, they could hit him. Maybe they were there for Frank too, but Frank decided to leave, but Montana's not. Why don't we'll hit him? Because that goes into one of the third things that I wanted to talk about. And the fact that a lot of times that is this level. There's a famous story about the meeting of one of Griselda's hitmen and her, is that he heard that somebody was going to spray the table next to him. So he went back to the table and said, hey, we got to get out of here. You know, they're going to spray this table. When doing so, spooked the guy next to him. And she got word and found him and was like, what'd you do? Why'd you do that? He said, I was just trying to get my people out. She said, well, you know what? I was going to spray the table next to it. And he's like, yeah, because there was a guy there I didn't like. You can spray the whole table for one guy? Yeah, that's how I do my shit. Okay, yeah, so I'll give you a choice. You can go find the guy, and you can bring him to me, or I'll just kill you for fucking me over. Okay, and so that's how pretty much he became her main assassin. But it is a Scarface, spray the whole table type style thing. Again,
And again,
right there in
the military training kicks in, because what does he do? He doesn't try and stand up and be a brash asshole and take them out. He just he wings them in the kneecaps and in the shins. Mm-hmm. He gets low, he stays in cover, and then he looks for his
same thing he does at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all convincingly. And again, Pacino's never, like, it's like this in Heat. You never think of him as, like, an action guy, but when you put him in these situations...
He's a fucking lion, bro.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Even though he keeps a tiger on the premises, he's got a lion inside of him, like Pacino set up Montana the entire time.
Dude, I forgot about the tiger, and I was like, in the final, like, assault on the house, does the tiger, like, kill him? I was like, missed opportunity, man.
Yeah, of course.
They totally should have had Now, there's something if you ever do the remake, because you can probably make it look a lot more convincing, but, like, he definitely needs to, like, feed cocaine to his tiger and then set it free.
Did you ever play
Sosa's army?
Did you ever play the game?
No, but
that is a bit in the game, if I'm not mistaken, that the tiger.
Cocaine to
the tiger saves you to help you get out of your mansion. I think is a bit, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong.
I did know that it basically undoes the ending, and then starts you back at square one. And I was like,
much like The Godfather.
Does it like? Are you playing missions though, like the Colombia drug deal and stuff? Like,
you're redoing like some iconic stuff, and the whole deal is like you're gonna go back and fuck over Sosa. Like you're gonna get Sosa.
But the iconic stuff you're doing is technically.
It's in the same vein.
Moments. It's not like flashbacks to the movie.
I think there might be one or two. I can't remember. It's been so long since I played it.
Did they ever? I guess that's probably not available. I missed it because it was like tail end of PlayStation 2. Is that right?
And I don't know who made it, because it felt like it could hold its own with like a GTA or a what's the other one that came out around the time? Not
Saints Row.
Saints Row, like a third person up in like Godfather type. Yeah, it felt like it could hold its own with that, but I don't remember who the studio that made it was. Yeah, so we're there.
I was gonna say if they did a remaster of it, I would love to play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're there. Basically, he's consolidated power, and we get the whole...
Yeah, we're right into the push to the limit montage.
Yeah. Well, no, we get Manolo shoot that piece of shit after he's made him grovel
we're still
and
in
whatnot.
the scene. And then the Harris Yulin, like, you can't kill a cop, dude. He just shoots him point blank in the gut. And then, like you said, the ultimate payoff to take that, like, super tense, like, dramatic scene, very violent, very bloody, and to end it with, like, what do we do about this guy? Yeah. And then offer
him a job. Yeah, Tony. Like, okay, you call me tomorrow, okay? Hey, man, you got a job. Chi-Chi. Fucking Chi-Chi, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then...
Yeah. But yeah, I love that they bring him on because it's like, they serve no purpose to, like, kill him off. Mm-hmm. Like, another moment where it's like, okay, so he's not completely,
Right.
He's not completely heartless.
But you also know that, like, if that guy made any move, and of course he knows what the deal is. He's just like, okay, I'm just trying to get out of here. Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to. Sorry, Frank, this ain't happening, bro. Like, I'm not pulling a gun for you or nothing. Like, this isn't gonna work. So yeah, and again, he gets into some tax trouble with all this money. Sosa says you got to go hit this guy. He has a conscience. Finally, one point in time. Decides just, I'm not having that shit, and fucking blows what's-his-face's brains out on the street driving through New York. And that sets into motion.
Look at you now.
Yeah. Look at you now. Yeah. That sets into motion the big final act, which is probably one of the, like, most iconic scenes from the movie.
Yeah, but prior to that, he does roll over to Manolo's house, realize that he and Gina have just gotten married the previous day, but only after he gets so enraged by the idea of somebody fucking his sister that's not him that he shoots his best friend
in the stomach.
And, like, most loyal companion
ever
through the last, like, couple years of his life. I don't know how many. Well, wait, no, we do a
3 months later.
We get to Freedom Town with a 1 month later.
Right.
Okay.
And then don't we do
And then we do 3 months later, but I don't think we ever get another interstitial. It's either 3 or 4 months later at some point, and that's right before they have the first you get the money, then you get the power,
yeah,
then you get the money. Yeah, dude. So Veronica twice has not finished this with me, but she does. As soon as she heard Pacino talking, she was like, "Oh my god, like what's up with this voice and shit." But she was totally into it. But all of the stuff with Manny and Tony, like trying to pick up women's, like all of those conversations, and the whole like, you got to do your tongue like this, like that's what women are into.
Hey, look at my friend. Look at my friend.
Yeah,
he's gonna stick his tongue out. Okay, Romeo.
All of that stuff, like she's dying laughing.
Yeah,
she thought it was great. Like I'm like, you've got to finish this movie at some point and see what happens between these friends who right now are like,
bros.
They're just two bros in Miami, just looking for tail.
That's it. So the one thing I laughed so hard I wasn't even thinking about it till it dawned on me what she said. Oh, I tell you, I watched it with Bex. And about halfway through him, before Manny opens the door, Bex just goes, "I wish we could go back to no cell phones." And I was like, what? What? Because he's been calling and calling and calling. He's already had the landline. He's like, "Who the fuck you think you fucking with?" All that shit. He's already had all that with Sosa. She was just like, "I wish we could go back to no cell phones." So like, what? And then it dawned. I was like, oh, I get it. Because he's been calling and calling and nobody answers. Yeah, okay. He's been in a payphone. He's asking, did somebody call the entire time? I was like, that's a good one, Bex. But yeah, murders his best friend.
Yeah.
And
drags her out of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this time watching it was the first time I actually like kind of paid attention to him in terms of like where he's going, mainly where his eyes are going in the scenes immediately following that, like coming to terms with like, oh God, I let my coke rage, and the fact that I want to fuck my sister, like that may be over. It was Manny though. Manny? What? Like him talking and saying his name multiple times.
I mean,
it's just, yeah.
The grand irony, of course, is like, even if they were on good terms, like they were all gonna fucking die that night, regardless.
See, no, I like to think that, and that's my thing, I like to think that wouldn't happen if Manolo was still alive. Because I feel like there's several key things that coked out Tony does wrong. One, not letting his friend Chi-Chi back in the room with him, and again, being so coked out and all that kind of stuff. But if you go
to maybe like, if your desk is set up in that way, maybe don't have the security cameras like behind your left shoulder.
Right.
Maybe have them visible.
Right.
If you're going to be, yeah.
And because because they spend time, and he's like, you're spending all this money on security and all this, and it's like, oh, the irony. You have all these cameras and all this shit. You cannot see your fucking downfall.
Because you just blinded by the fucking rails, the mountains in front of you.
Yes. But again, I've always maintained, it's just my personal point of view, that if he does not murder his best friend, that somehow the two of them are able to, if not survive and kill everyone, at least be able to make an escape to regroup.
If it turned into John Woo's The Killer, or
something to that effect,
with them like trading, tossing guns to each other and stuff, it could rekindle their friendship, but it had to go down the way it went down.
Yeah.
But right before...
the more cold-blooded thing is they kill everyone except for the skull. Tony gets the drop on... Manny saves Tony from that, and it's like, okay, thanks. But Tony still shoots him as like, I couldn't forgive you. I'll tell her that you went out saving my life.
Yeah.
Puts his eyes out, and he's just that cold-blooded because, in my opinion, all the dudes, that is literally all of Sosa's dudes. So if he murders all of them, stops that home invasion that way, Sosa's, all I got to do is sit a hit squad up there, go get some guys and go up there and take them out. I'm good. Like, that's, it back and forth. Again, another thing that's been reinforced, I've said it a couple times, probably from the late 78, 79, up through this time, there's plenty of instances where people are just kicking in doors of people's houses and killing people for, one, drug debts, to consolidation of power between the three different cartels that were running things at that point in time. And again, it's just another thing that for it to be something that comes out almost in like the same zeitgeist. Like it's happening as they're watching it. By the time you get to like a Miami Vice, that is kind of tapered off in the 80s because they've been able to get a handle on it so much that like at this point in time, Miami Vice comes on, they come in and rebuild some of the infrastructure that cocaine money put together, because when the cocaine narcos start to fold, the banks start to fold because they're all narco banks. It leaves a lot of buildings like in ruin. And Miami Vice, the show comes in and says, well, we're going to fix it up. And they left it fixed up. And they attribute that being one of the reasons why that Miami kind of came out of that and had all this nice new infrastructure, was because, you know, the show came in and did all this and that and kind of gives the city a new identity from that. But while this comes out, it's still very much in the heyday. And again, we said Escobar doesn't get killed until the early 90s. So it's still there through Miami, but it isn't as Wild West as it was in the late 70s, early 80s. It becomes a little bit more cat and mouse. There's not so much like killings anywhere. One, you could attribute that to the fact that Griselda Blanco gets locked up for a crime in New York. She goes out to California to serve her time. But it's also people started realizing we're not going to make any money. We're going to have too much heat if we are just mowing people down. So why don't we just stick to other tactics to try and bring in this product? Because at the end of the day, you talk about excess and him having all this. He only has all this because fucking Americans love putting shit up their nose, Noah. They've loved it ever since then, and they'll love it now.
Way to bring it all
Just
home.
remember, just say no, okay?
Just remember, don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah. It's rule number 2.
He really, Frank had a good blueprint. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah.
He had some pretty great rules for success. When in doubt, listen to Robert Loggia.
Yeah. Me, Robert Loggia.
Any final thoughts? I mean, Gina comes in. You're like, oh, is she gonna kill him before all this pops off? She gets shot to shit. We didn't really talk about Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio, but she's great. Everybody's great in this movie.
Yeah.
Not a bad actor in the bunch. But yeah, she gets taken out, and then
all hell breaks loose.
All the iconic shit you're used to.
Yeah.
Say hello to my little friend. All that stuff. It's all great. All electrifying cinema. And again, it's over, and I'm sitting there going like, this was 2 hours and 50 minutes. I could watch this again right now.
Yeah.
Incredibly rewatchable.
Yeah.
For an extremely violent, profanity-laden film with very few, if almost zero redeemable characters.
Yeah.
That is just an absolute blast to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking love this movie so much.
Yeah.
So glad we got to revisit it.
It was a fun time. There's still, again, when you're watching the finale and you see that like, oh yeah, that guy had a grappling hook. That's how he got in and killed your sister. And you realize, oh, well, there's the skull. Oh, what's he doing? And you realize that like, okay, they've got him.
This is the year before Terminator, right?
Right.
The skull
know, yes.
so much.
Yes.
Like,
No.
seems like a prototype. It really
No, that
does.
is, I believe wholeheartedly James Cameron, I don't know him like that. I can't call him Jim. James Cameron
I can call him Jim.
Yeah, James Cameron had to have seen this and thought, holy shit, there's my guy. Because he's physically brooding, doesn't say a fucking word. The sunglasses who the fuck wears sunglasses at night, Noah?
This guy does.
This motherfucker. And he has the nice accent of like, yeah, you've been getting shot up and you're still standing. I'm going to put 2 shotgun shells in your back. And I'm going to fucking put you down. And for him to wind up in the fucking pool, his own fountain, bloody red, and the world is yours, spinning on the globe. I can't think of a better, just like, again, like you said, maybe let us shoot some stuff. Maybe look at it before you vilify it, because we're not necessarily painting like a great picture. Like, this dude's awesome. Right. Like, look what happens to him. Look where he ends up. This is a cautionary tale. This isn't a fairy tale. It's a cautionary one. But, you got to rush to the yayo. No, what can I say?
I would be very interested to get, like, truly get like a 15-year-old's reaction to this movie. Like, present day, how... I'm curious what people think of it. Because obviously it's lived in our brains for 2 decades at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Since we each saw it initially, I'm saying.
Right.
I probably saw it around 12, 13 for the first time.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere in there.
I just remember a lot of people, after I watched it, I felt like everybody wanted to talk to me about it because I had finally seen it. A lot of people at school.
Yeah. Well, it was, again, it's one of those that had stayed kind of in the pop culture zeitgeist a full almost 30 years after it initially came out, which is so rare for a movie that was never sequelized or, you know what I'm saying?
Right, and I'll even argue this. I think if you tell people Al Pacino, 9.5 out of 10 people say, "Oh, Scarface, Tony Montana." They don't say Michael Corleone. They don't say whatever his name is in Heat. They don't say.
No, I think this is him.
This is the performance.
I think part of that is the pure iconography of the poster. Pacino, Scarface, the black and white.
Yeah.
Just classic poster. There's the cliche about it being you got to have that. Maybe a Pulp Fiction, maybe a Fight Club poster up in your dorm room.
Yeah.
Get one of those.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's iconic on another level, but it's one of those I feel even knowing, like we said, some of the famous beats and moments from it, it's all about the context to me and the going on the full ride. And while it is one that I feel has natural breaks where it's it's kind of it's one of those weird hangout movies where it's you could, okay, I'm just gonna watch until he gets to the next tier.
Right.
On his climb to power.
Right.
Or I'm gonna take a break or let the push it to the limit scene basically serve as an intermission for the movie.
That's exactly
what it was. Transitional intermission. Now we return to act. Do we get a closer at the end of that of so many months later? Because it seems to be to me at least a full summer, if not a year of time passing.
I don't know if they. I don't know if they give you a time.
It's
period.
a lot, but
yeah.
Anyways, that's Scarface, 1983.
Yeah.
Masterpiece status. Totally holds up. It's on Netflix right now. It's leaving
the 30th of June.
On the 30th.
You better hurry up.
So, I don't know when you're listening to this, but you have just a few days. I have a lovely steelbook of it somewhere that I stole from you. I think it's downstairs.
Is it on Blu-ray?
Yeah.
I've been looking. I knew I had a copy somewhere.
You lent it to me forever ago.
That's true.
I'll give it back to you. It was my PS4. It's getting old, and I'm sure the disc is fine. My PS4 has trouble reading shit in general, so that's why I ended up on Netflix.
Okay.
Even though it's sitting out by my PS4, but yeah, I'll grab it for you when we go downstairs. Okay. We don't normally do this, but I do want to tease the next one.
Okay.
We got July coming up.
Yeah.
We just went down to Miami. We had a little taste of Florida post your vacation.
Yes.
Now I just got back from Chicago. So we could do Chicago centric if you wanted to. If you had any in mind. That opens up the table to John Hughes. If you're in that mood, I don't know. But we had teased the idea of possibly doing, tease being the operative word, the Summer of Sexual Seduction.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a full-on mini-series or something we want to mount because we've got some other stuff we're working on, and then October's right around the corner. So maybe, do we just want to go with July, the hottest month, is our month of sexual seduction? And we don't have to pick them right now, but we want to go in that vein.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Because we can go back down to Florida.
We could, and I would love to. We could stay in that space.
We could.
We could guarantee that one if you want to make that your pick.
It's going to be a pick because I haven't seen it in a while, and I really want to watch it now.
Okay.
Because of how batshit crazy it is.
It's kind of you wish Blood and Wine had a little bit more.
That's it. You know what? That's probably my problem.
We didn't really get
now
to
that
that.
we thought about that, but yeah,
point. But that's the thing is that the movie, because it removes the sexual. Sorry to jump back, but because it removes the outright sexual element between Lopez and Dorff, which is that's really why you think you would be there, right? But because it removes that and leaves it more ambiguous, and because so much of the movie is played straight and there's no there's not a lot of like melodrama to it,
right?
Or soap opera-ishness. There's no like kind of devious, salacious. There's no fun factor,
right?
It's very played. It's more again. It's a morality play,
right?
It's very noirish. There's not a lot of laughs in it. It's maybe a little bit of dark humor, but like it's taking itself very seriously. But yeah. That's what you want. That's what you want that movie to be, though. Is more Wild Things, less 70s character study.
Right.
Yes.
Agreed.
So yeah, I think Wild Things is on the table, and then maybe. I mean, it seems like it's only makes sense to go back to the 80s, but I feel like I want to find one that's a little off the map, or maybe there's a more modern one that's even like post Wild Things that fits in. Or maybe it's just going to be Cruel Intentions. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I'm trying to think. I thought there was one that was a
big
deal.
If you have any suggestions for sexual thrillers, please email the
Sexually suggestive thrillers.
Yes. Films. Theatrically released movies. I don't want Pornhub links, okay?
Yeah.
I just want films.
I'll take
film
the Pornhub
titles.
links.
Yes, Gavin can be reached.
I'll take the Pornhub links
at
Gingerbeardman on Instagram
with 2 N's.
You could take the real movies RKV at network. What is it? RKV Network.
On at Instagram? The RKV Network.
Yeah.
On
you
Instagram,
could take the serious
or
stuff.
email thearkofe@gmail.com. So we're not settled, but freaking Wild Things is going to be one of them. Okay?
It has to be.
We got to talk about.
We haven't. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure there's probably even another better, There's another better Florida-based one down there you can go with, too.
Sure. So if you listen to this and you have a suggestion, let us know. We will be back with something in between now and then. I think there's probably an HBO Max release or something we're excited about coming up.
Fast 9 this weekend.
There we go.
Yeah.
I forget that it's this weekend. I really genuinely feel like I need to catch up.
You ought to.
And watch 6, 7, and 8.
I'll watch 8 with you.
But I kind of just want to watch 5.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I can't jump from 5 to 9.
No, you can't. You have to at least go 5 to 8. I mean, if you want to skip 6 and 7.
I heard 8 was maybe the weakest of the bunch. So you're telling me that 8 is better than 6 and 7?
I don't recommend 6 and 7 because it's hard for me to watch them.
But I'll miss that whole arc. I'll miss the farewell.
Yeah.
So I have to watch it.
You should, yeah. I don't know why you haven't. Noah, that was your series, Noah.
I know it was.
You introduced me to that.
You took it, and maybe I haven't fully recovered.
Yeah.
Or maybe, I don't know if I outgrew them or they outgrew me, brother. I just don't know anymore.
But they became heists. You love Noah, they shifted because of you. They knew that you stopped watching them because you love Ocean's 11. And they just said, we got
to do with why I stopped
we got to get this kid back. So what do, Noah? They get Vin back in the mix because they know you love him. And then they make it a heist franchise because they know you love Ocean's 11. And you still won't watch them.
They were like, we gave you John Ortiz in the 4th one.
Yes.
We thought we had you. And I was like, too many tunnels. Fuck yourself.
And then they gave you 5, Noah. They gave you Fast 5.
Yeah, and a favela. And I was very happy.
They gave you the bad guy. They gave you Bucho, Noah. They gave you Bucho.
Yeah, dude.
Okay? And they gave you Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I haven't even gotten to the Kurt Russell of it all, dude.
No, you haven't.
That's 6 and 7, right?
Yeah. And 8. 2, he's in there.
All right, you gotta get the hell out of my apartment because I think I'm watching 6. Like as soon as you leave,
do it.
Probably watching 5, and then 6 tomorrow, and then I don't know. I'd probably be good to go see 9. I'm sure you'll have already seen it in theaters 3 times.
Look, if you're gonna watch all these, I will wait, and you and I can go to 9 together if you want to do that, like for real.
Are we gonna take Mom?
I mean, yeah, if she wants. I don't know if she's caught up, but yeah, sure.
You don't think she's caught up?
I don't know if she's watched Fast. Well, I don't know what Fast and Furious she's watched. No,
you bought all of them for her.
I did, but like I've also tried to get her to watch The Long Good Friday for forever, and she's taken forever.
She finally watched Moonlight.
Yeah, she told me that. She said, "Pretty sad." And I was like, "Yeah, I could see that."
Was all she.
That's all she had to say.
Well, I love you, Mom, but I was like,
no, you should have been in the room, dude.
Like, it just made me really sad, and I'm like, oh,
you should
shit,
have been in the room because I was like, so better than La La Land, right? because I know she loves La La Land. She's like, well, yeah, I mean, it was good. And I was like, okay. Like, I got that out of her at least. So I don't know if she would pick that over La La Land, but I don't know where she stands on those.
Mom's not an Oscar voter.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? You good?
Yeah.
We good?
Yeah.
We good here?
I think we did it.
Okay. And we managed to not do... I guess you can't even say it's like an offensive Cuban accent because it's like he's an Italian doing it.
Right,
So
and he worked with a dialect coach over and over.
You're just doing a Scarface impression. It's not a Colombian stereotype. It's an iconic character.
It's not even a Colombian stereotype. It's a Cuban stereotype.
Yeah, and I totally fucked that up. But yeah, it's the equivalent of doing Vincent Hanna from Heat.
Yeah.
But we still managed.
What do we got?
Yeah. I'm proud of us for not just falling into quotes the whole time.
Yeah,
what a quotable movie. Yeah, and one I also feel like we could do another 2 hours on if I watched it again tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
endlessly rewatchable.
I
Great
think
movie.
if we decide that we really want to start doing commentary track shit, I think that would be one of the first ones we should do.
That would definitely be a candidate.
Yeah.
On the real, though, if we were to do a first one...
It's got to be the pest, I know.
No, I was going to say...
Another Miami classic.
It would be a movie we've already done. To Live and Die in L.A.
Oh, God, yes,
to do a commentary track for. I would have loved to have watched that with you for the first time and just had mics nearby, just capturing your reaction.
Oh, God, that would have been perfect. And since I've only watched it the one time, we could probably do that and it would still be the same.
It's true. All right. Something to think about. Keep an eye on our Patreon, patreon.com/thearkofe. Appreciate everybody who supports us there. You help keep the show going. Until next time, I have been Noah.
And I have been Gavin.
And we've been the Blanchard Brothers. And we've been pushing it to the limit.
Indeed. And again, Noah, as always,
we've been walking along the razor's edge.
Yeah.
Don't look down, Gavin. Just keep your head.
Hit the wheel. Noah, sometimes
hit the wheel and double the stakes. Throttle right open like a bat out of hell as you crash the gates. Crash the gates!
Just remember, Noah.
Are we still doing
Yeah,
this?
praise the Lord, pass the ammunition, and God bless Ron DeSantis.